check on. Monitor output. It's so complicated.
I know.
How did we ever get into radio? Radio sucks. Hold on.
Well, we could get into video.
Yeah, Maggot was just talking about that. All right, say hello to your audience. I'll sing the lesbian song again.
Well, that's okay. We wouldn't mind if you sang the lesbian song again. It's a beautiful piece of work.
I know.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to American Freeman on the Freeman Radio Network. I am one of your ever-growing supply of hosts, Don of the family Perry.
We need as many as we can get. Come on and be a host. General public.
Right, exactly. Anyone can be a host, just like any woman can be a lesbian.
Any woman can be a lesbian.
With me, as always, singing and laughing at himself in the background, is the president of the American chapter of the World Freeman Society, Estratios Constantine of the household family clan Moretis.
Moretis.
Moretti.
Yeah, it's impossible to pronounce. There's a diphthong in the middle and all that.
Oh, well, I see. That exactly explains it then. Yeah. We have with us Maggot as well. Hopefully he's listening, talking.
He's on, but I don't hear him.
Wow, maybe
we try to
check out his... Okay, why don't we go ahead and do that, then that'll be fine. A little bit later on this show, we will be joined by our other host, the Caribbean Critic. He has to go and deal with a bunch of Jewish bankers at the moment, so we our thoughts and our prayers and our hearts go out to him. He's not getting so screwed up about them.
Aren't the bankers Eskimos? It's an Eskimo conspiracy, isn't it?
Yes, they've teamed up with the animal conspiracy, apparently, and they're working slavishly to ensure that when the seals launch up onto our shore, they're carrying Eskimos laden with copies of the Talmud and AK-47s.
Well, as long as you're prepared.
Right, exactly. So, to prevent yourself from being a victim of the Eskimo/animal conspiracy, make sure you listen to our show every single day.
Let's do radio silence for 1 second.
I think that was a little longer than 1 second. Did that work for you?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm keeping it. Okay, cool.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. So, back to some of the more important topics in the world today. Some very, very major things happened. Apparently, Brittany Murphy's widow was found dead this morning.
Oh yeah, I was enthusiastic. Could you tell?
I could tell that was brilliant. I'm so glad you just
people act like they don't know who she is. She was on King of the Hill, and she was actually very good.
Yep.
And I mean, she wasn't known like for her face, whatever. I mean, she was very attractive, but it was the deal was she was a cartoon voice. Right.
And she did have actually her breakthrough role that established her was in Clueless, but
and she was also in the new movie by Mike Judge, the guy that like Idiocracy and Beavis and Butthead and all that. She was in what's the name of that movie?
Oh, the latest one he's got coming out?
No. It was out already. I'm blanking out. Anyway, it was about this resin or something, this flavoring. That's exciting. Go ahead, go on. You'll look it up.
I have not seen it though. Well, anyway, I guess the only reason I bring it up, and the only reason that it struck me as being bizarre in any way, shape, or form was because, well, less than a year after she dies, her husband dies.
Hello! Are we on live now?
Yeah.
No, we are, but you aren't.
How come?
You can say whatever you want. It's totally fine.
MI6 called us. It's that English delay system. You'll be on in about a half an hour.
Yep.
That's stupid, because I can hear you at the same time as you speak to me.
Yeah, but they have technology you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, right.
Well, of course, they've been running UFOs and everything.
It's about as good a technology as these new Aegis ships for America. They can sail around the Yellow Sea and can't detect an old-fashioned North Korean submarine with their latest technology.
Yeah.
Well, of course not. Well, you know, when that old-fashioned Korean submarine decides to slip up underneath the oil tanker and thread the needle, and its radar signal is lost under the tanker signal, you know, what are you going to do, right?
I thought they had things like sonar and things like that. Passive sonar, which detects and analyzes sound. You can hear the two different engines, so you know there's something more than just an oil tanker there. But you know, I'm just
that's postulating. That's postulating that the U.S. government and all its supreme military and technological power wanted to detect.
Oh, you mean we're assuming that they're actually competent?
Well, we're assuming that they
That's a
actually
lot to
care.
assume.
I know, right?
America's very good at
huge.
shooting each other in wars anyway, because then they're guaranteed a hit. So they're too feeble with their guns. Who's that? There was that guy, a famous sports person or something, and he decided to do his duty and go to the Gulf War or something. It was like a basketball player or something, and he got killed about 1 year later and killed by friendly fire.
Phoenix Cardinals quarterback. Can't remember his name right now.
I know exactly who you mean. I can't think of his name either.
It wasn't Johnson, was it?
Well, he was actually caught in the mountains. He was waving to his troops down below because he'd been cut off, and instead of acknowledging who he was, they blew the shit out of him.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was assassination. Yeah, suspected assassination, I should say.
Pat Tillman.
That's
Tillman.
it. Yeah.
Pat Tillman.
Yep.
Yep, ex-NFL player Tillman killed in Afghanistan.
Which shows you our sports people are retarded. I mean, he was going to play football, and he goes right out there and gung-ho to defend America against our ability to have heroin. So we can have heroin.
Yeah. He was
Right, so
going
we
to
can have
Desperately
heroin.
need heroin. Yeah.
Desperately.
Maybe he was such a heroin addict. Like he would rather go into battle to get heroin than it's like
Maybe
One of the
he
fresh
worked
poppies.
for a dealer.
yeah.
Maybe he
yeah.
worked for a dealer, and the dealer coerced him into going over there to protect his interests.
Oh, and
Maybe
the worst part are the
he
really
Of course
cunty
he
ones that
worked for
will
a
scream at us that
dealer.
we're hurting people by mentioning it.
Yeah.
I hate them even more than I hate him. You know?
He worked for a dealer, and he worked for the biggest dealer on the planet, and it's called the American Military and Security Forces.
Sure, of course. Codenamed the CIA.
CIA, yeah. CIA is pretty big.
Yeah, well. Tragic, sick, disgusting, wrong, perverted, and a great story to galvanize the entire American populace into believing that it's awful and tragic what these terrible Taliban and
the
insurgents
idiocy.
do to our people.
The idiocy out there that will say, you can't talk about him, he's a hero.
So why do you
Yeah,
shoot him?
until 2 years later when it was revealed that he was killed by friendly fire.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they were implying all sorts on that.
A hero.
But what was it? Statistics in the first Gulf War that we were in? It was something to the tune of I don't remember exactly what the statistics were, but the majority of the casualties in the first Gulf War were the results of what's referred to as friendly fire. I'm sorry. First of all,
Second War II. There was more British soldiers killed from American fire than Iraqi. In both of those, Gulf War 1 and 2.
Right, but you can see why that happens.
Gotta get rid of the British.
No, they're just a little limp.
No, it's like they fancy each other's uniforms as well. So I've got to get that uniform. Don't shoot the arms, we need
Something's
those.
going wrong over there, and it's at boys' schools or
Yeah.
something. I don't know what's going
Just
on.
the
We need
legs,
to
just the legs.
butch them up or something.
I guess the term friendly fire just astounds me.
It's
I don't know. I've never been fired at by any of my friends.
We probably spent billions of dollars on that term. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they
yeah.
sat there in think tanks working this out.
Just
Pointing
imagine
The
at-
Rand Corporation.
whatever, and say, your son was killed but it was in friendly fire.
Right. The bullets that came at him paused for a moment and said, "Hello, we apologize for what we're about to do, but it's just our duty."
They had smiles on their faces, like smiley ones, like in Super Mario. And they would do reenactments with like smiley Mario bullets.
Don't use
Chuckles
those
the bullets.
bullets. They've got smiley faces on them. Those are only for friendly fire incidents.
No, I call them Daffy Duck bullets because they go round corners and do all sorts of tricks.
Eddie
Like
assassinates some presidents.
The bullets launched out of Lee Harvey Oswald's gun.
You know the World Trade Center was brought down by that same bullet. It's still in the air right now. When they turn left.
Yeah. It is one of those giant bullets out of Super Mario. Those are huge ones.
Sure, of course. I'll totally buy
Well,
that.
it's famous. It appears in movies now.
He was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Come on, no one's seen that?
Yeah. I
I remember that. Yeah, this is the same bullet. You know those bullets. Arlen Specter. He came up
Oh
with that.
yeah.
And now he's a hero on TV and all that. You know,
Yeah.
he came up with left-turn bullet theory and all that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that what we should do is we should stand and fire the bullets straight at him because they found the bullets that killed Kennedy. They claim, right, on the stretcher or whatever. So we should fire the bullets straight at him from the same gun, and if they turn left, then he's right. Right?
Brilliant.
He's committed to that theory, right?
If he's committed to the theory, he should be willing to back it up.
Or we could fire perpendicular to him, and then, and then he'd run for his life because bullets all turn left.
I think we often get called conspiracy theorists because it's only a stupid theory, right? Okay, well, gravity's only a theory, so we should get these people to jump off the top of the Empire State Building because gravity's only a theory.
I don't consent to gravity.
The great thing about gravity is that it doesn't care. Consent, don't consent. Have fun.
Well, I don't consent.
Well, flying is technically throwing yourself.
Well,
off
you
the
can
ground
always
and missing.
you can always shout halfway down, "I do not consent. I'm only doing this under duress and protest."
I wonder if you can discharge your death certificate. Sorry, I didn't really die. I only died under duress and protest.
Right.
I'd like to
Right.
keep on going.
It's great. You can solve everything with these Freeman methods. Although some of them are commercial remedies, we don't really advocate those.
Right. It'd be nice if you could, though. Cure diseases. I do not consent to having this disease.
Conspiracy theorists are anti-American and domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
Oh, you've been watching CBS, haven't you?
Yeah, this little shitty.
And we all
program.
wear like headscarves like the Muslims. I'm wearing mine now.
I'm wearing a turban. Does that make me? Does that make me a towelhead?
No, that makes you Hindu.
Oh shoot!
Wrong religion.
Hey, Maggot, do they still sell those V for Vendetta masks in the UK? I want one.
Halloween shops will do them. Party shops will do them. Yeah. Gotta get hold of
Those
them.
Guy Fawkes masks.
Yeah, they like
Yeah,
that, but it's everybody was wearing them on V for Vendetta, that film,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to get hold of them online easily enough. I'm sure they have them over here in the UK. Get them. We got a party shop in town.
Well, see, if I ever come back to the UK, I want to put it on. So as soon as I come out of the airport, well, actually, while I'm walking through the airport, I think I'll put it on to go through immigration.
Yeah. They'll never get switches.
Then you'll get free healthcare.
Take what off? That mask? What mask?
Yeah.
It's
Suppose
my
I can wear a
face.
Jason
My
Bourne.
person. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
No one's ever called me a conspiracy theorist to my face.
Well, you're fortunate because not all of us have that distinction.
they'd probably regret it anyway, but I mean, it's never actually happened. I mean, I'm ready to go. Well, the minute they say that to me, I disrespect me that way, I'm going to get them. But it's never actually happened, which I think is amazing. I mean, everyone talks like, oh, this is so unusual. No, in fact, everyone I meet knows about this stuff. Everybody. Most of my relatives. Yeah. It's, my parents are sitting there like trying to deny this stuff, and now I've never heard of this, and then the entire rest of the family knows about it. Yeah, congratulations.
Well, but you have to realize that you're a blessed individual. Because I meet people all the time, every single day, and I try to talk about this stuff, and then they go to my wife and they say, what the hell's his problem?
No, that's just you. I mean, in Michigan, I think maybe there's some flaw there in Michigan. Well, but no, seriously, I speak unopposed. It's amazing. Or not amazing. It's actually kind of old hat.
Well, the nice thing is when I was in Grand Rapids a couple of last week, last week, I had the opportunity to share some of these ideas and thoughts with some people, and they were very well received. I think it has to do with the density of population and an exposure to information. The smaller town you are, the more isolated you are, the less information that the people in that town are willing to open up to and experience.
I thought it was the isolated people who knew more area. About the get out of the UN thing. I don't know. I don't think that's a good theory.
Okay.
A valid one.
Well, I'm not saying it's absolutely valid or justified. I was just offering it. I can be wrong.
You see people like in the way out in the boonies, and they have that on their barn. It'll say, "Get us out of the UN."
Okay, but yeah. Well, you get way out in the boonies, though. You get people who are diehard fundamentalists. I'm talking the midsection.
That's not a very good description either.
No.
Because if they were
then I abandoned this theory in the face of evidence that I can't prove.
They saw the face of Jesus in a cornfield or something. That's why they're fundamentalists.
Well, no, if they were really going to be fundamentalists, wouldn't they be Orthodox Christians?
You would imagine so, but most fundamentalists are only fundamentalists to the faith that they were raised in.
Yeah, that's not right.
Doesn't fundamentalist
but if your faith is
if
your faith raises you to believe that you can tame snakes.
I never understood that. It's ridiculous. And this bit about if you're going to speak in tongues, everyone would understand you.
All right, that's
right. Nobody hears gibberish.
Well, but that's exactly. In fact, Pentecost Sunday was
does that.
past Sunday.
Popeye speaks in tongues.
Those are satanic reversals. When you have Masons that run your religion,
yeah,
right,
and they pull these what they call satanic reversals on you, then they laugh at you.
Sure. Oh, I do have to mention just something real briefly about that. One of our local news stations here in mid-Michigan ran a whole thing last night on a whole story during their hour-long news broadcast on the secret symbols involved in Freemasonry. There was no conclusive final point given in it, but there was an awful lot of people talking about how Freemasons are a fraternity, not a religion, and yet all this evidence that they tossed up, including the back of the $1 bill, the blade and the chalice, all of this other stuff that they brought up, that unfortunately seems to be so much Dan Brown-inspired bullcrap.
Yeah, but if you think Brittany Murphy's husband's dead, just bringing the topic up in the local news media, the station will be changing hands. There'll be a lot of funerals.
Exactly. I mean,
just for bringing the topic up, even wrong, even incorrectly.
Right. Well, sure. So I thought it was very bold of somebody who was obviously on their way out anyway to decide to go ahead and make it a news topic.
They're all nuts. They're just nuts. I don't understand them at all. I understand the details of their bullshit religion, every last detail of that, but them I don't understand. You know what I mean? There's something mentally wrong with people like that. They gotta join that and they lie about it. Ridiculous.
Well, it's the idea of being the elite.
Yeah, is there any hope for the widow's son?
Well, anybody who believes in the Jesus Christ that isn't me is obviously insane. Because
that's England, Maggot.
Yeah.
You have to realize England's been de-Christianized. The rest of the entire world.
Yeah, but they should all send their money to me because I'm the only true one.
Oh, ridiculous.
And I need money. I need money to live. Fools. Just like in the Bible.
Donate to Maggot and still believe in Jesus, okay?
Because I'm the real one and I want your money.
Yeah, Maggot needs your cash.
Yeah. Give me your billion.
Because God told you to ask everyone for your cash.
Oh, God wants you to
send
do
you their
that.
cash.
Or he'll come and rape you in a UFO.
God's going to kill me and toss me into prison and rape and murder my family unless you send me $5 million.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Billy Maggotaur. Hope that works out for you.
Yeah.
You do realize that if you get that $5 million, you've got to split it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Okay, as long as we're all on the same page.
I'll get God to pay you himself.
I gave my money to the
Lord.
I don't know. Last night, I saw this movie, Dark Passage. It's a film noir from the 40s, and apparently it was science fiction because this guy was in trouble, and a woman in America helped him out. I know, it's hard. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, this is science.
That's pretty amazing, actually. That is science fiction.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Wait. What did she get out of the deal?
He turned out to be the king.
She loved him, I guess. I've never heard of such. In other foreign countries, I've heard of this.
Science fiction.
Yeah, some kind of science fiction program. And Humphrey Bogart was in big trouble, and Lauren Bacall helped him, and she had it. He even changed his face, right? And he's in the most vulnerable position I've ever seen because anyone could turn him in for cash, right? Because he escaped from prison, even though he didn't do it. And then he gets his face changed. Well, the science fiction went on and on and on. He ran into this taxi driver who helped him out, right? Not just the woman helped him out, the taxi driver helped him out, and helped him find a doctor who then didn't turn him in and helped him change his face for like $200, like nothing. And
wait a minute. And this is supposed to be America?
I guess the aliens have landed and all kinds of other stuff. I never heard of such things. Yeah. See, I think
happen anywhere I'm going.
Well,
sounds more like Turkey.
Yeah. But my point was that when we fight and get America back, I don't think we should give women anything.
Yay.
You know what I mean? I mean, after pulling the stunts they've pulled and not being part of anything and telling us we're all crazy all the time, I think fuck them. They're not getting anything. I don't think they should live indoors. I don't think that we should help them at all.
Most of them
there are no women in the truth movement.
Chained to the outside of the house.
I don't even think chained. I just say screw you. You know, just get out.
No. Well, you see, it should be a bathrobe that you wear and use when you need it, and then just hang them up on the hook again on the back of the bathroom door when you've done.
Yeah, that could be something like that. Because if there are no women in the truth movement, I think this is it's sick. I mean, what they're immune from truth or something?
I can give you some more truth. According to Mrs. Clinton and several others, it was the North Koreans that sank that South Korean ship with a torpedo from a submarine or something. Yeah?
Are they lying to the American people now?
Yeah. Well, so this is what they're telling everybody in the world and the American people. So I've made a suggestion that the American Navy had a fleet in the Yellow Sea with the latest Aegis technology, and it can't detect a noisy North Korean warship and an ancient torpedo. The taxpayer should ask for the money back.
Well, we haven't had a new plane since the 50s. We don't have any test pilots, not since the 50s. So, of course, our technology is from the 40s. I mean, this torpedo stuff, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, this new Aegis
stuff at all.
With this Aegis hardware, I mean, you know, you paid billions of dollars for it, and it don't work. So
yeah, but it was just souped up in the 40s. We don't have any new technology. And these are the idiots that deny everything. I mean, these people deny everything that goes on. They'll tell you that, like, you know. I mean,
and you've got a missile shield that doesn't work. Good grief!
Right. So on that basis, they can lie to us 24/7. But I don't think there's anyone left who believes that, are there? Unless they're women. Yeah. I've had it. I don't understand why there are no women in the truth movement.
Well, because you wind up with things like this. This is from the Metro in the UK. Sexism claim lawyer, rape is natural act. Deidre Clark, 44, was
still a foreign
fired.
country.
No, that's not true. That is assault with a friendly weapon.
Well, but no. Deidre Clark, 44, was fired from her £126,000 a year job with Alan Overy for writing an erotic novel on the internet. She says she prefers boyfriends who are, quote, real men, who she describes as cavemen, quote, born to fight and rape. She also writes, quote, the human male has evolved to slap a slutty woman. If you're hanging out with real men and you're a little slutty, you're going to get hit. In the Moscow News column, Miss Clark also describes rape as, quote, simply part of human nature, end quote. Should this be considered a breakthrough for the feminist movement, a massive setback, a lateral adjustment, or just bizarre?
It's Marxism. They do this to break up the family, to break up America, to destroy America.
That's screaming lunacy.
Yeah, so all these articles are on purpose. This is written by them. There's no reality in these things.
No, it doesn't work in real life anyway, because if you go to a club, there's always bouncers around, so it's just all rape fantasy. That woman's
it doesn't make any sense.
demented.
It's teaching them to like the idea of rape.
Yeah, fantasize about it, and so when it happens, they're not bothered about it, sort of thing, and then they'll justify it later, saying that was my fantasy in the first place.
That's really sick.
It is a bit twisted.
But I just think of a future where we've saved the whole world. We got America back. We got the world back. And these women are saying, well, I was in on it from the beginning. No, you're not. You gotta live outside.
CIA agents admit to faking Bin Laden videotapes.
Of course
Are
they
you
did.
reading?
Shocking.
Are you reading?
What, he had rings on? He's writing with the wrong hand? He's the fat Bin Laden?
Yeah, well, he's
Had an extra moustache.
they don't wear gold wedding rings, do they?
I realize that, yeah.
It's against the Islamic faith.
Yeah.
Now, are you reading from the Washington Post article, actually, that talks about it?
No, actually, I'm reading from... Hang on, I'll tell you. It's just
Okay.
a little note. PrisonPlanet.com.
Ah, there you go. There you go. Well, the Washington Post article goes into a little bit more
Detail
on it. They talk about how the agency actually made a video purporting to show Osama bin Laden and his cronies sitting around a campfire, swigging bottles of liquor and savoring their conquests with the boys. One of the former CIA officers recalled, chuckling at the memory. The actors were drawn from, quote, some of us darker-skinned employees, end quote.
Whatever next.
Well, no kidding, they fake tapes.
Well, but those Muslims, they're not very good actors, so, they're desperate to get them to fight against us, but they don't want to, and so we have to arrange to do it ourselves, because we desperately need a world government, and we have to have these videos, so since they won't play ball,
Right, we've got to fake it.
Yes, yeah, you understand. That's perfectly acceptable, isn't it? Faking it?
Well, of course.
It's the American way.
Woohoo!
Remember the Maine.
Yeah. Remember the Alamo.
Yeah, no, the Maine, they sunk it in Havana Harbor, and then there was a war for no reason with the Spanish.
Right.
Right, so it's one lie after another with these people. So, of course, let's reelect them.
Yeah.
Maybe we should reward them.
They're there to help us. Come on, Rand Paul is there to make sure that the Tea Party movement gets fair representation.
Yes, Israel first.
Randy Paul.
Randy. That's for the Rand Corporation, I'm sure. He's
Randy
electronic.
Yeah.
He's robotically supporting Israel, right?
According to the New York Times, According to the New York Times, General David H. Petraeus has authorized increased special operation troops, special operation troops, designed to penetrate. Oops, we were just talking about that. Penetrate Iran and create disruption. And then they wonder why these geezers keep getting arrested and shot.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. Why not? We've got to foster as much division, dissent, and war as possible, right? I mean, we currently have more troops serving in Afghanistan than we do in Iraq, and we're sending like another 4,000 to 6,000 troops over the course of the summer from the U.S. there. But Iraq was our the real threat to. Hold on, it'll come to me. Bush's idioms will make sense in a second here. Hold on. Freedom. Yep, that's it. Of course we want to attack Iran. That's been the plan from the get-go, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Super state. Bush's idioms, now all we've got is an idiot, Barack Obama. So we had an idiom before, now we've got an idiot.
I'd like to institute
He reads his
ordinance.
prompter very well, doesn't he?
Hey, well, when the speeches were written 20 years ago, and he's had that much time to read them and reread them, it's not that hard to change one word every couple sentences.
Yeah, his time in college wasn't totally wasted. Shouldn't even bother going there.
Right, exactly. At least he
Just
learned
probably
how
like
to
stayed in the
imitate
local
somebody
harem.
who sounds smart.
Yeah. I learned the long words.
Well, when they're all Brzezinski's words.
You mean the ones that come out of Obama's mouth?
15, 10. Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what we're referring to. It's
I
not hard
had
to
to turn on
sound
my
smart
microphone.
when all you have to do is
needed to make
change.
coffee. I had to fill up the Berkey water filter because without Berkey water, I don't get this angry. Because the fluoride keeps you from fighting back. So we got to take the fluoride out.
You can always tell when the president is lying, of course,
His mouth is
speaking.
open,
because
his
you
lips
can
are
hear his
moving.
voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not
Yeah.
the president,
You
though.
can hear his voice and his lips are moving.
He's not the president.
I would like
well,
to propose
the puppet
before the
president.
host of this show. I would like to propose an ordinance to be passed before the host of this show and the members of this show
He's passing
society.
statutes. Hold
That we
on.
no longer I know. Well,
No statutes.
But if we've all consented to it, we're okay, right?
No. I don't consent.
Well, you haven't even heard what it is.
He wants statute law. He's pushing the
How
Roman
can you
Admiralty.
automatically not consent
Admiral Perry over here is pushing Admiralty on us.
No, I'm proposing a bylaw.
Oh my God! No.
I'm not pushing anything.
That's a bylaw is a procedure of a corporation. It's defined as the procedures of a corporation. Oh, you a corporation?
May I
Are we
put
a
forth a
corporation?
request?
Go on then.
All right, my request. Can we refrain from referring to him as Barack Obama? It's just Barry, isn't it? I mean, I fear we might be confusing people by referring to him as Barack
We could
Obama.
always call him Mr. Satoru, and then we know he's a corporation that's a wholly owned subsidiary of Zbigniew Brzezinski.
ZB Jr. How about that? I'm just saying, it's very, very difficult for me to get those letters in that conjunction out of my mouth without feeling like I'm
He's
going
not
to
the
get it.
president. Everyone knows it. And this puppet won't even get his full term. The FBI will shoot him soon, and then they'll blame it on us.
Well, sure, of course. or any other parties that they associate with the truth movement that they can discredit.
We've already had stuff blamed on us. Did you know that? We had a guy.
I'm sorry. Whoa. What?
We had some guy committed some crime. I'll find the news article, and he claimed he was from the part of the World Freeman Society. He was a member, but we looked through the things, we couldn't find him. I'll find the article.
I want to see this. I haven't heard about this. That's ridiculous.
He wasn't the one that started shooting outside the Pentagon, was he?
No, this is some Illinois.
No, I don't think so.
Illinois article.
I've heard about that.
I'll find it. It's in here somewhere.
That's just bizarre. So somebody's already tried to discredit. Yeah, well, that's how you know when you're working towards real truth. If you're working towards a lie, if you're operating at a falsehood, they'll just ignore you because they don't care. But if you actually can put them into the light of day and expose them for what they really are, that's when they freak out and need to discredit you. That should be the sole level of understanding the truth of what's going on.
No, you can't judge everything with this backwards proof like that. Oh yes, they're stabbing you with knives. You must be doing something right. No, how about that? No, I don't.
They just do that anyway.
No, you don't think so?
Well, sometimes
if you lie about someone.
Yeah, but you see, they'll stab the truth movement with lies, and all that does is, if you like, attract people to the movement, and then they can identify everybody. If everybody is within that movement and they're all identified, then they're easy to take out, aren't they? But whenever we just individuals spread all over the place, free men.
God forbid.
Yeah, then it's more difficult to disrupt such a loose-knit organisation, isn't it? Something like the Tea Party, for example, they could easily blame the assassination of the president on that mob.
All right.
And they're not that bright. They got fooled because they're in the Tea Party.
Yeah, they're following people like Sarah Palin and Rand Paul.
It's the wrong protest,
Well, we've talked about that the Tea Party moment of the revolution was done based as the Green Lodge of the Freemasons, and it was done poorly and
found it
to galvanize.
I found the article.
People. Oh, excellent, good.
Beloit man led Illinois officers on foot chase before capture, which means he's probably innocent. Piccolo has been described as anti-government and is a member of the World Freeman Society.
Woo! Yeah!
Bold.
Send us the link. I gotta read the rubbish.
There it is.
Fans are still blogging away about their fellow sovereign's plight across states.
Just like one of these whack jobs.
Dying over here.
Yeah, is that one of those whack jobs that just affiliate themselves with some organisation or to discredit them?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, the term Piccolo has been described as anti-government, is a member of the World Freeman Society. I don't think it's fair to say that the World Freeman Society is anti-government. I think we're anti-tyranny, we're anti-despotism, we're anti-top-down control. But if the government's willing to limit itself to only what it's supposed to do, I have no problems with the constitutionality.
But it's like, where do you start with how wrong the article is? I mean, it's like, the thrust of the article is that, oh, these cops had to run. They need to eat more donuts. I mean, how dare you make a cop do their job? I mean, foot chase and all this. That's the key. That's the thrust of the article. And then it's anti-government, and they're justifying anything that they do now. Yeah.
Well, you see, now they have this thing there that's listed as a link.
Oh,
you click on forum.worldfreemansociety.org, and you click on it, and Firefox can't even find the server.
It's a beautiful way they do these things. Beloit police found evidence of a hydroponic grower. Evidence of it. They didn't find a hydroponic grower, just evidence that it might have been one there.
You mean, yeah,
Which,
those evil
hang on a
bulbs?
minute. That's not the best of the innuendo. Which could potentially grow marijuana. Oh dear. He must be a terrorist. He's got a hydroponic grower. Or evidence of it. There might be one, there might not be. And he could possibly, but he hasn't, but he might have done, grown marijuana. No. So they haven't.
Could have, possibly.
Possibly. Yeah. So they haven't found a hydroponic grower, and they didn't find any marijuana. That's what it's saying. But people assume, oh, he got this hydroponic grower, and he was growing. It's a load of absolute garbage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, at the end of this article, it says he's scheduled to stand trial on May 24th, which would have been yesterday, for a misdemeanor charge of possession of THC.
Well, the thing is, like,
Hold on.
jerks.
How can you just be in possession of THC?
Well, that is the active ingredient of the weed, of the grass, of the.
Right. So if I have hemp that is non-THC producing hemp plants growing, what am I going to get charged with?
No,
you're going to get charged with that you could potentially grow marijuana.
No, I'm opposed to this non-THC hemp. It's a cop-out. It's like, why don't we cut off our own legs? I mean, screw
but it
that.
exists. I'm just saying it exists. I'm not saying grow it. I'm not advocating.
Ridiculous.
I'm just saying it exists. And
if you want to grow it and smoke it, what's it got to do with the freaking government?
Nothing.
What I take into my body is my affair. It's got nothing to do with the dickheads in Washington or
these are the circumcision Jewish group, the ones that describe God as having made mistakes that they have to correct. God put this horrible plant here. We have to get rid of it. You know, this, and God made the body wrong. We have to cut parts off.
Yeah.
You know
Arms and legs.
Well, and in defense of all things THC related, and that's all I have to say about that.
Welcome, Forrest Gump. And that's all I have to say about that.
trying to make points. Can you guys stop him when he does stuff like that?
I never seen to Forrest Gump. I just, so I didn't get a joke.
Creepy point and all that. Anyway, the thing is, like, the evidence of ecstasy and all that is an air-conditioned room. I mean, they listed that in their terrorist pamphlets and all that. I mean, this is disgusting. I mean, I don't care what they think. It's got to stop. You know?
If I wanted to take heroin, what's it got to do with anybody else? It's not their body, it's mine. I own this fucking shit. I am a sovereign. I decide to do what I want with it. If I want to jump off a cliff, it's my choice.
I can't argue that with you.
You know,
you really want to jump out of an airplane without a parachute, I suppose it's entirely your choice.
Correct. Of course it is. It's got now to do with anybody else. Apart from
I don't have to necessarily fly the plane that you decide to jump out of.
No, as long as I don't land on top of somebody's head and kill them, I'm all right.
Right? Right. As long as you just make a divot in the earth in some obscure place that isn't infringing upon anyone else's property or rights or life. Go ahead.
Well, in fact, I'm doing somebody some good because I'm probably fertilising his land when I rot down.
There you go.
I think Nigel Farage's pilot is looking for any people willing to get on his plane with him. So yeah, he's that one.
He's probably advertising pretty heavily right now.
Yeah. It was an accident, Gov, it says in the paper.
I didn't mean to do it. Let me ask you this, Maggot. You're there in the UK, and I know the Queen gave a speech today.
Oh yeah, I was looking at an article about that.
Yeah.
I was looking at the. I was actually on Metro earlier today. I found major bill to slash power of state.
Okay.
Which I found it incredibly amusing that any government would allow it to be announced that they're slashing the power of state unless there was something hidden, secret, deep within it. But apparently everything that's being reported is that they're going to get rid of the identity card, they're going to get rid of all kinds of things, and I wanted to get your take on all that.
Including a lot of the video cameras and all the shit like that, and they're getting rid of this digital economy bill, which is supposed to restrict the internet and what have you. Supposed to be getting rid of that. And all sorts of things. Yeah, we'll see. Because they say these things.
Then, I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. I was just, Maggot, you're there. I was wondering what your thought process on it was.
Just wait and see, really.
I'm sure the Freemasons and Jews that run England are going to let that pass. I mean,
yeah, it's like
not a Trojan horse of some sort. And they're all, of course, they need more legislation to do this.
Well, right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like the economic bailout here. All of us here went, yeah, whatever, right, sure, that's a bunch of BS.
Well, there's obviously
the information that we get funneled here in the U.S. from international news is entirely different from what the international community actually feels as a result of what's going on there.
Well, I'll give you an example. Last night I was talking with a Brazilian. Okay, yeah, she's a lady, and she's working
Are you
for.
Sure? Could you check?
Yeah. I've known her for quite some time, and she's just got a job working for Lula da Silva, and she'll be seeing him in a meeting tomorrow. So I've asked her to pass my congratulations on in negotiating that deal with Iran and Turkey for the uranium.
Heck yeah! What a blowback against Israel.
The thing is, publicly on the news and everything else, Obama is said to have told De Silva and what have you not to go. Publicly is discredited the agreement. Privately with Mr. De Silva, and this woman's his secretary, he actually congratulated him and asked him to De Silva to do his best to negotiate the deal. That's under the table, straight to De Silva. So, although the public thinks, De Silva and the Turkish PM were pissing in the wind, they had Obama's approval before they even went. Although, publicly, Obama was supposed to have disapproved of it. Privately, between prime ministers and president, you're all right, lads. Do your best. So, what we're being told and what's actually happening, there's no connection between the two. It's bullshit.
We're watching a movie.
Well, yeah.
It's all for show. Yeah, it's all an act.
Well, of
it's all
course, it's
theatre.
entertainment.
It's all
Total
theatre.
entertainment. It's been that way for decades, though. I mean,
Here it says the Queen's speech said there will also be changes to ensure members of the public can protest peacefully without fear of being branded a criminal. The overhaul of draconian and unpopular counterterrorism laws to strike a fresh balance between protecting the public's and civil liberties, and new laws to better regulate the use of CCTV, particularly by local authorities, and to ensure internet and email records are only stored when necessary. So this is a movie? This is complete fiction?
well, that's exactly it. I mean, this whole thing has been introduced and implicated to the form of this is fact. And
I mean, I realize some of them want to save their own lives, but they've already committed the treason. They have to die now. It's too bad they committed treason. These little tidbits they want to throw us here at the end. I'm sorry, the trial's going to go forward. You're going to the death chamber.
Doggy treat.
Everybody you know is going to the death chamber.
But the question is how much of it is them trying to placate or right at the end to save their own necks, and how much of it is just distraction? I mean, what are all the little tags and the little things attached to all of this? Okay, we pass all of these, but you didn't read the fine print that said you got rid of this old form to allow for the indoctrination and incorporation of an even worse form.
I mean, everybody at Common Purpose is tried for treason. Everybody in the government. Everybody in the Freemasons. I mean, that's half the country probably in England.
Uh-huh.
Probably a third of the country here in the U.S.
No, I think it's less here, but still, every last one of them goes. We're not. There's no negotiation possible with evil.
You see,
we're not taking that.
You see, Freemasonry actually is on the way down in the UK.
Every last
on the
one
way
of them
down
goes,
in the
though.
U.S. too.
It might be on its way down, but every other type of blackmail and trickery that gets them to do these things is too bad. Every one of them that participated in this goes. And they needed trials on television, so every last one of us knows why. So there isn't like a kangaroo court or people just got no. They've got to be on one man, one channel. I mean, if we have to have 900 channels of trials, we'll do it. I mean, it's fine, but they've got to go. You know, they can't be allowed to get away with this. I didn't commit treason. You know what I mean? And whatever would have happened to me, let's say I got a gang together and I committed treason. Of course, I couldn't get the kind of cooperation they get or financing that they get to do this. But let's say I did it. Whatever it was I would be facing, right, they have to face too. And they never face any punishment. So it's time to go here. Whatever I would have faced.
Absolutely. And I don't think anyone out there would disagree with you that anyone guilty of treason needs to be eradicated from the country that they're supposed to
I
play.
need the slightest step towards world government.
Especially if they're any member of government, any member of politics, any member of the law society who's supposed to have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution and then constantly violated it at every step. Yes, that's absolute treason, and they need to go. I definitely think that I don't think anyone's going to argue. Well, I don't care if they're sorry. You should have been sorry.
No, I'm sorry they did it, but that doesn't mean we're going to let them off. They can get rid of the Patriot Act tomorrow. It doesn't make it that idiot. I can't think of his name. It blanks my
don't you understand? They've started the propaganda now to ameliorate this problem, because good is now bad and bad is now good.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right is now wrong and wrong is now right. So that
lying children will be the most successful citizens.
I'm ready for this. The real plan is to come in, and the NWO is going to come in and swoop in and save us from this tyranny, right? And it will all be happy and rosebuds and whatever. No, they're gone.
Yeah, the undertow to what could be happening is the European Union. It could be all like a ploy to get us like if we get dragged into the European Union and then all the draconian measures come back in full force and everybody will miss them. We missed the CCTVs. I missed them watching me in the bathroom. It's possible. Yeah, I mean it's like their scenario seems a bit too saccharine sweet. Possibly, it's like why would they bother investing all this sort of like paranoia technology and being watched all the time and then only to dismantle it at the last second just because like some cruddy old new parliament came to force. It's all a bit sort of like yay.
There was an amazing SCTV joke with Andrea Martin. They were still doing the SCTV news back then, and they were the consumer advocate, that local consumer advocate thing on the local news, and she called up a Mr. Brzezinski in Russia, and Jane from Pacoima didn't like the Soviet threat, so they just dismantled everything.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the consumer. We didn't know you people were upset. We're just going to shut it all down. Okay, Jane in Pacoima didn't like it, so we're shutting it down.
Yeah, it's a bit sort of like Lord of the Rings, really, isn't it?
Lunacy. I mean, these people have to go through full trials and executions and removals, and I mean, it all has to be punished.
All because this woman.
You see, the thing is, they should take them. take them in front of the Washington Monument so everybody can gather round and watch and hang the fuckers in public.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. And then they'll say, "Oh, he's into vengeance. He's a violent terrorist." Wrong. It's law and order. Sorry, treason is even in children's dictionaries. They tell you what the punishment for treason is.
Well, the treason is the only punishment, only capital punishment, death by hanging, that is left in the UK. Treason is the only crime that attracts capital punishment now in the UK. That's it.
Have you heard Albert Burgess speak? Albert Burgess talks about this all the time. He's a former cop from England. And he tries to report a sedition and treason to the police department, and he explains what kind of reception he gets when he does this. And they say that they don't know who would handle such a job. This would mean arresting everybody in the government. They tell them they don't want to handle the job. They don't even want to hear the complaint.
So basically, they admit that they would have to arrest everyone in the government, and they don't want to deal with it.
They don't like that. They feel they'd be fired.
You
for
see, that last letter that 370 odd members of Congress signed supporting Israel is actually sedition and treason. It's a treasonous act.
Well, of course,
and it's actually. They've actually put the names to it, so everybody knows who they are.
Well,
and they've all committed open treason.
Well, they're daring us to do something about it.
Allowing the Anti-Defamation League, which is an Israeli-run company or organization operating on foreign soil all by itself, is treason.
The ADL is an exponent of a secret society. The B'nai B'rith is a secret Masonic order. And when you look at the details of B'nai B'rith, that is a secret society.
And they based in Ireland, B'nai B'rith. Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. That's the actual truth.
Right. And these are organizations that operate on the sovereign soil of America. That's absolute violation to the Constitution. So anyone who allows that to happen or supports it is automatically treasonous. The government allowing the ADL and B'nai B'rith and these things to exist and operate and dictate policy, even if they do nothing else, by their acquiescence to it, that's treason.
Okay.
100%.
I'm just having a look at this article now on major bill to slash the power of the state in the UK. Now, on reflection, that does worry me, because what it says, abolish unnecessary laws. Abolish unnecessary laws. So, is the 1688 Bill of Rights in the UK an unnecessary law? Is the right to a jury trial of your peers as an unnecessary law? Worries me.
Freedom is the right to freely travel. That's
the right
unnecessary law.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the right just to claim back your sovereign status. Is that an unnecessary law? The method, you know, giving notice of understanding and intent and then producing your claims of right. New Zealand is already trying to stop the claim of right, having a few guys won a case. So I'm worried now. Now I am definitely nervous about this abolish unnecessary laws. They got to tell me what these unnecessary laws are.
It's on that libdems.org.uk. That details the whole thing. I found more links.
Conservative Liberal Democratic Coalition Negotiations Agreement.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a long laundry
list of
things
through that. Maybe we should.
They're proposing the real thing, and it's just to mock us or something.
Well, we should probably give ourselves time to read that and perhaps postpone discussion of this until tomorrow, because I want to actually have time to read it.
They're mocking us. It's something. There's nothing that they're going to do like that. So there's something to this.
Well, and that's why I brought it up and asked about it, because I mean, there's no way that they're just going to slash their own power and limit themselves. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, they'd be building up for us.
Their whole concept.
Well, this is why I'm worried about it, because these unnecessary laws could be the few laws left that actually give us some protection from tyranny. They're unnecessary because we're never going to be. They're unnecessary. We're not ever going to be tyrannical, so we don't need these laws that protect you from tyranny, because we'll never be. You know, we'll never be tyrannical dictators. Yes, you are. You always have been. Yeah. Hang on a minute.
We'd never be this way.
Wizard of Oz.
Yes. Oh, right, exactly.
Yeah. She was the one who was like pushing it away from you.
I think if somebody gets up in Parliament and makes a speech on this bill, on this dramatic bill, it should be dubbed over with Donald Duck.
Sure, definitely.
Because they're just quacks.
Well, sure. Well, and that's why I brought it up, because you know something had to be hidden in it. You know something had to be set and devised to eliminate further
or possibly
appreciation of your ability.
Well, what they're going to do is the
wrong.
bills. Yeah, what they're going to do is get rid of bills, as I said, that protect your rights. These basic rules that.
Think about this. I got an idea. Maybe they're doing all this right. They're repealing the whole thing, and then their phony aliens will land. You know, the ones from Virginia. And then they'll claim that in the name of saving us from the alien invasion, we all have to have a world government. Ah! You know what I mean?
Could be.
Like they'll have just undone everything. Of course they haven't. But then their phony alien invasion will show up.
Well, but they're building towards it.
Yeah.
They've got to be building towards it. I mean, look at what the international markets did overnight. I mean, Asia through Europe collapsed and tanked. The Dow, at the end of the day, yesterday collapsed and tanked. It's still having problems today. I mean, the whole thing is just... Of course.
Guess what the Liberal Democrats are calling this bill? You're never going to guess what they're calling this bill.
Cool UK.
Macaroni?
They're calling it the Freedom Bill.
Yeah!
Is that an acronym or...
That's got to be the best oxymoron on the planet now. The Freedom Bill.
Here are your laws of freedom.
This is the Freedom Bill, and designed to enslave you completely.
Yeah, really Janus, isn't it?
Well, it's like the Patriot Act. Did everything to pull out of people their ability to be patriotic. Be sovereign patriots.
Well, you see, in the UK, we don't call it the Patriot Act, we call it the Anti-Terrorism Bill.
Well, at least you're honest about it.
Yeah, but they're using it to make sure, they're using the provisions of this bill to make sure you don't put glass in your paper dustbin and paper in your glass dustbin. And
terrorism like that has to be stopped.
That's tyranny. That's terrorism.
That sort of environmental terrorism must be stopped. Yeah. Notwithstanding, there's a veritable forest of different wheelie bins outside of everybody's bloody house now. You can't get down the sidewalks for all these bloody plastic bins.
We got a few of them.
And of course, if your neighbors aren't using those plastic bins and they keep their shades drawn and they only pay in cash and they like their privacy, they're terrorists. You better
walking down the street's terrorism, don't you understand?
Well, of course,
you said it was skyrocketing down the street. Oh. But also, do you know what happens to this all sorted out garbage? Do you realize that they don't care and they just mix it all together?
It all gets mixed together and burned anyway?
Yeah.
So,
landfill, too.
So we get this anachronistic German bitch. She makes this speech promising freedom.
Is this Angela?
And yet we're all described as a subject. How can we have freedom when we're a subject? We are subject to her. Well, I ain't no subject to that bitch.
Free to serve.
Fight the power.
Some sort of safe to the Martians when they turn up, though. Or the Saturnians, whoever they turn out to be.
No. We're all horribly embittered, and we can't believe that they would do something like this. But if you really read through it, they're proposing it in forward language, you know what I mean, direct language. Everything that we would want them to do, they're proposing. Which, of course, they're not going to do it, but look at it, the way it's written. It really is written the right way. As if they were going to do this.
It's a total misdirection, and people will assume that this is the freedom bill to give them freedom.
Democracy.
We got our freedom back!
Well, hold on.
They won't understand that the laws they're going to abolish is the very laws that gives them the freedom or a little piece of it.
Uh-huh.
Well, first of all, the whole idea
unnecessary.
that it gives them freedom. No government can give you freedom.
No.
Freedom is an inherent element of being alive.
Well, yes.
All the government
anything
can do
they
is
do,
They're God-given rights.
protect. Right. Anything a government can do is protect your freedoms from being stripped from you.
well, they can't take your freedom from you, but what they do is pretend that liberties are freedoms. You have a license to do this, but if you don't have a license, we're going to whip it away from you. So
but then it's not a freedom, it's a liberty.
Liberty is not freedom.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not a freedom, it's a liberty because you have to have a license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're a free country. You know, you are allowed to protest in Great Britain. Hang on a minute. Before you can protest, you got to write to the local police, get permission to have this demonstration. You know, and they can say no for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
including I don't like you.
Yeah, including I don't like the colour of your hair. No, you can't have it.
Can you imagine the mockery of the Queen's speech now on YouTube? Everyone will want to be the Queen, reading the speech out.
Yeah, it's sickening. Welcome to the grand new world order, everyone. Isn't it fun?
Cameron ditches... You see, he's our great protector now. Cameron ditches his speech etiquette to tear into Labour. The Prime Minister raised eyebrows with his particularly vitriolic attack on his best friend Gordon Brown. Oh, sorry, on the Labour Party.
on his bum
his
chum.
butt buddy?
Butt buddy.
He insulted his butt buddy in public? Oh,
yeah.
How totally anti-gay of him.
Yeah, his
Gordon Brown was wearing a gimp mask at the time.
His bum chum was raising his eyebrows. That was after he raised his shirt and bent over, of course.
Yeah. Increased up.
Yeah. Praise the Lord and pass the Vaseline.
Pass the Lord and praise the ammunition. I do have to share this with everyone because I found this today on the Times Online, and I felt kind of glad-hearted by one of the Commonwealths doing something positive. Australia expels Israeli diplomat.
I wanted to get to that.
Australia has ordered the expulsion. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to get to that particular piece. Now, it seems to me that this is a planned campaign. And my question to everybody here is, you know, there's been the spat between Obama and Netanyahu, the spat this is all public, but not necessarily correct. But the spat between Biden and Netanyahu, the British courts issuing arrest warrants for Tippi Livni and the other people in the IDF that were proposing to come to London, so they didn't. Now Ireland, Britain, and now Australia have expelled charges d'affaires, Israeli charges d'affaires. Is this like a campaign to dump Israel? You've passed your use-by date, your usefulness to the Anglo-American alliance. Guess what? You're out on your own, boys. So is it a progress towards that situation, do you think?
A phony progress to it.
Yeah, a phony. Well, as I said, it's just, this is what's publicly in the public domain, but is it real?
Well, and just to give our listeners just a quick bit of what we're talking about, the killers of Hamas official Mahmoud al-Bahou, the killers used forged British, Australian, French, German, and Irish passports to gain access to their target and a Dubai hotel on January 20th. Britain has already expelled the Mossad representatives in London after its own police inquiry indicated that Israel had forged 12 British passports and had refused to allow the officials to be replaced until Israel signs a written guarantee that it will not do so again. It was the first time Britain had expelled an Israeli diplomat in more than 20 years. Israel has so far refused to comply, worried that any such document could be taken as proof that it ordered the assassination. So, Australia's kicked him out, Britain's kicked him out, Ireland's kicked him out. There is no indication that they have actually complied with those eviction orders, and the reason being that they fear that it would cause a spectacle that they admitted to the assassination attempts. But I think the Caribbean Critics' question is actually a really good one. Is this a designed campaign, or is this just a resultant of mismanaged exercise?
Or is it a campaign of deception on the public, on your average Joe and Joess in the street? Is it just another false flag operation to pretend to distance themselves from Israel? I don't know.
They need this one world religion thing, and they need the Muslims to believe that Israel's not winning all the time. So there's that element. That's why there's this constant idea that Obama's going against the Jews. He might as well have a Star of David on his chest. I mean, but people really, honestly, idiots that watch the news believe this. And so, I mean, there's no way to pull them, suck them into the one world religion.
But he can't put a Star of David on his chest. Good grief, that would be a perfect target for a sniper. You know, just zoom in on that.
You mean some lone strange gunman who might pop up out of the blue,
from the FBI?
Supported by the CIA or the FBI or Mossad or anything else that would just be some psycho?
Yeah, and just hang out of a high-rise building window and go, pop.
Oops, damn, gun jam.
I wonder
and have left turning bullets.
I wonder what his name would be. Let me think. Lee Harvey Oswald, could that be it?
Could be. I was thinking John Wilkes Booth, but okay.
Similar.
Mm-hmm.
Very close.
Oh, Could have been brothers. So, it could be completely a false flag attack. It could be a coordinated effort.
At a certain point, you have to go to the usual suspects. So we start with the position that it's a false flag attack. It could be legitimate. No.
Okay.
See, at a certain point, when it's happened this many times, you have to go to the usual suspects. So the first position is it's a false flag attack. Number one, the legitimacy of situations is always in suspect now after we've had it this many times.
So we start
entire century of no
the
legitimacy.
idea that it's a false flag attack.
Yeah, we've had a whole century of no legitimacy from the Maine on. You know what I mean? Remember the Maine? From that point on, we've had illegitimate after illegitimate attack. So there's almost no prospects for it to be a legitimate situation. Your first position is to realize it's phony, and then maybe it's possible it could be legitimate. That's a secondary, third, fourth, fifth thought.
I think if they developed a stock market derivative, I'd be short selling that one now.
I mean, they brought in the Federal Reserve to save us from these bank panics, to save us from these financial situations, and the first thing they did was hook up the Great Depression.
Sure.
I mean, there's
We're
no
entering the
legitimacy
next
situation.
Great Depression. Everyone freaks out and just kowtows to letting the government do what it needs to do. It's propagandizing.
And to hear people suggest that things are legitimate shows you that they're either part of it, profiting from it, you know what I mean, or they're drooling stupidity.
They're saying that Mr. Petraeus has not only given the US military a free hand in Iran, but also in the Horn of Africa. Are they now intending to invade Africa? That's a continent,
you
man.
couple that with the fact that Israel has now been proven to be attempting to sell nuclear weapons to South Africa, and why not? The unfortunate part of all of this is that you have to look at it like the game of Risk. The ultimate idea is to control the entire world.
Yeah,
That's what they're trying to do.
This was the Defense Department's reply. The Defense Department cannot be caught flat-footed, one Pentagon official told the New York Times. Flat-footed.
You mean like they have so many times before?
Well, my immediate response to that Pentagon official is, "Where's the $3 trillion you've lost?"
We don't know. We lost
3.6. We have to ask Rabbi Dov Zakheim where the money is. You know, he's the CFO of the Pentagon.
I'm sorry, you're all Gentiles. None of you have the right to know where that money was spent. It's part of a plan that takes care of and ensures the existence of the nation of Israel. And if you argue with me, you will all be condemned by the ADL.
This is what one guy blogged to that article in the London Times about expanding secret military operations. This guy, William Kent, the world would be a much better and happier place, especially the USA itself, if all US forces returned within its own borders. Okay, Mr. World Policeman, get back.
This is part of blaming us for our U.S. foreign policy. They don't ever do what we want. They don't listen to what we say. Rumsfeld never calls me up. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't take my calls.
Well, unfortunately, the problem
we want to.
Right. Well,
our government is operated by the NWO and Jews.
For sure.
It
Rabbi
appears
Dov
The idea that
Zakheim
it's of the
decides.
people, by the people, for the people is laughable.
Because they
They're
don't
not
even bother
representatives. They don't represent our wishes, our desires, our wants, our needs, or anything else. They do everything based upon special interest and the opportunity to maintain staying in control.
Lenny, don't feel left out that Mr. Rumsfeld doesn't take your calls, and he doesn't listen to you. He doesn't take the calls from Ron Paul, and he don't listen to him either.
And he's in Washington.
In fact, who do they listen to? Oh, that would be probably Mr. Rothschilds and Mr. Rockefeller.
Moloch.
Right. They don't listen to us.
Well, that's why we need to speak up for ourselves and continue to be able to back up everything that we talk about on this show by real fact and everything else. I do want to ask, just for our listening audience out there that might be looking, because I was trying to find it earlier today, and unfortunately, due to technical considerations, I couldn't ask you, Lenny. I'm trying to find the best copy of the Talmuds to read and look over, and I'm having a hard time finding them online. Are there any places I can still find them, or am I going to need to go to alternate sources?
Well, the best one is, of course, the Steinsaltz. The Steinsaltz Talmud?
Steinfeld.
Oh, what we were talking about earlier with Israel is also, if you like, there's another link to that proposal that we are slowly, maybe for real, maybe not for real, dumping Israel. Let me read this piece to you.
Okay.
Vatican promises to open wartime archives. Right? Now, basically, what the headline, the main headline was saying, head of the Council for Christian Unity promises access to the papers on Hitler's Pope, warns of dangers of split with Judaism. Right? So the Council on Christian Unity says the Vatican opening up its Hitler's Pope archives is saying we could split from Judaism. Are they doing it deliberately? To create this controversy with Judaism?
That reinforces the lie that Hitler was actually Christian. He was just tricking people to get them into the secret society thing, which is the real society, the Thule and all that. That's their common trick.
But not only that, you see, this speaks to the fact that the Roman Catholic Churchianity do not like they don't like the Jews and Judaism, because the Jews killed the Savior, didn't they? They murdered him.
Jews also run that. You know, since they're split in 1054, they've been operated by Jews. I mean, there's levels of deception here.
Absolutely levels of deception, but the public perception is that we're doing another thing to dump Israel, but this time it's the Vatican.
But you see, they have to do that because the Vatican will be operating the world religion, the one world religion, to Lucifer. So they need the Muslims to join up with that. So at the last minute, Jews will say, oh, okay, we'll join too. But the reality is they've been doing it the whole time. They need Jews to seem outsiders so they can get the Muslims to join the one world religion. You're going to see a lot of moves like that. A lot of trick moves. This one world religion is, people have not focused on this detail. It's not a detail. It's one of the three foundations of the New World Order. One is the one world government. One is the one world economic system. And the other one is the one world religion. That's equally important to the other two. They spend all their focus on understanding the other two and not understanding how this trick's going to work.
How about this little piece in the Times? Americans are outgunned by the Taliban's AK-47s. They reckon the Taliban's AK-47 is a much better weapon than the M4 or the M16 rifle.
Well, that's because we have sold them the AK-47s.
Well, the AK-47 is a much heavier weapon. It fires a 7.62 millimeter round, just like the British SLR and SA-80 used to, but now they've taken it down to 5.38 or something millimeters. But a 7.62 has got a much further kill range than any of the other weapons. You know, the old SLR or that's the self-loading rifle. Fired a 7.62 round, and it could kill easily at several miles.
At several miles?
Several miles.
Wow.
That's why they called it the Widowmaker.
Well, sure. Makes sense.
The age? Yeah, this is what they're saying. The age-old AK-47 uses a much heavier round, which travels further and with greater accuracy. The more successful Taliban sniping in recent months has heightened the concerns of the utility of this AK-47 weapon.
Wow.
You know, so...
And yet, what it really makes you do, I think, is question why we have now equipped our modern soldiers with less well-equipped, less well-controlled firepower. Is it so that we have to lose, or that we have to commit more troops?
I think that was the whole idea. That's exactly what the Taliban and the Al Qaeda and other affiliated groups said. The idea is not to win these wars, but to keep America engaged, and Britain and, you know, the coalition, keep them engaged, because they're already bankrupt and we're just forcing them to spend billions of dollars that they don't have.
Right.
So you just, you know, when you're in a hole like this and you're in deep shit with your money supply, the best thing to do is stop fucking digging. But these people in the Pentagon and the White House, instead of stopping digging, they get another shovel and dig faster.
Right. Digging deeper.
Yeah. So now, they've got 2 shovels on the go. Now they're going to take a third one and probably have a go at North Korea.
Yeah, right. Isn't that just ridiculous? We've sunk ourselves into Iraq, sunk ourselves into Afghanistan. Let's go ahead and screw ourselves by jumping into the Korean affair again.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's got nothing at all to do with America. It's a spat between North and South Korea. North Korea, in 1953, North Korea signed the armistice agreement. The South refused. So, in truth, the two nations, both legally and actually, still at war, and have been since 1950, whatever it was when it started. It's not stopped. They are still at war. And all this thing, North Korea, even if North Korea did sink that ship, that was a legal act of war.
Because they've never not been at war.
They've never not been at war. It's nothing new. It's the same thing. It's the same war. They are perfectly entitled to say that ship's too far north. Kaboom! You've gone.
Well, but it has to be within. Well, it has to be within the waters bounded by international water boundaries, sea boundaries, which are limited to
Yeah, of course you see. I mean, but
if they violated that boundary, well, whatever, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever. But the wars never cease. So even if they were in international waters, the two belligerent parties can have a go at each other.
Okay.
Because they're still at war. Now if there was an armistice, then you would need, because the armistice would agree that these ships wouldn't go there and your ships wouldn't go here. And if you did, then you expect to be attacked.
Sure.
But that's not the case. They're still completely and fully engaged in the Korean War. Right from 1950 odd. It's never stopped.
Wait, hold on. When I was in schools, my teacher never told me nothing about none of that still going on.
Well, unfortunately, it is. And of course, if you look at the Google map, North Korea is so close to all the American bases in the south and in Japan.
Sure.
Kaboom!
Well, that's done on purpose, isn't it? Just so that first strike attacks would be against American interests, which would allow us to automatically...
Everything is phony. You understand there's no need for a Bay of Pigs invasion. They could have walked to the other side. We own half the freaking island. We have a base on Cuba. So, all we had to do was walk over the line, Bay of Pig, automatic. I mean, what's the ship for? The whole thing is phony.
Of course it was phony. They could have loaded the troops into Guantanamo Bay and just walked over the land into the through the gates of the.
They couldn't have. The reason that they couldn't have was because of the perception that would have been placed in the public eye. It would have been easy strategically, but it was perception. I mean, you got to remember the 60s and the 70s were so hugely about the manipulation of propaganda, and so the major concern was creating an incident that would allow for the happening instead of just doing it. So they couldn't just act on what they wanted to do. They had to create an international perspective that would have allowed for the... And that's why the whole C-Day coup and M-Trunk and everything else existed, was because it was attempts at operatives within Cuba to simulate a coup attempt that could then be justified as backed by the U.S. government because of fear of a nuclear strike by Russian nuclear missiles stationed in Cuba. I mean, that was done specifically to create the coordinate mindset in the people to allow it to happen.
Oh, I just love this report. Israel denies offering nuclear warheads to apartheid South Africa. Right? Donald McIntyre's revelations will not make Israel give up its policy of ambiguity. Right? And then in the Times, Avner Cohen stated Yitzhak Rabin would have opposed sales of nuclear weapons. Well, if he would oppose sales of nuclear weapons, that confirms that Israel has them, doesn't it? Why be ambiguous about it? Apart from the fact, of course, selling these things to South Africa would have been an absolute travesty as far as the non-proliferation treaty went. In other words, Israel would have been a proliferator of nuclear technology.
Did you know there's 22 bills involved with this thing? I found the Queen's speech. I still have to find a way to download it, which I'll be doing here momentarily. But here's the Queen's speech.
Yeah, that's another bloody deception. It isn't her speech. The government writes it and she just reads it. It's a bit like Obama, really. You know, reading from his teleprompter. He didn't write the speech. It was written ages ago for him and he just reads it.
Yeah.
I don't think a president in the United States has written their own speech since who? Truman?
Lincoln used to write them on the back of
yes, I was just going to say Lincoln was probably the last.
Oh, well, come on. You have to think that at least a few presidents wrote some of their speeches.
No. Maybe a speech like, I have to go to the bathroom, I'll be back. Although I'm sure CFR wrote that for them.
I mean, after 1913, definitely nobody wrote his own speeches.
No way. And this isn't cynicism, this is just reality.
So
it's reality. It is reality, but it's also cynicism. It's both.
Yeah, but it's still factual.
Isn't it awful when cynicism and reality are one and the same thing? It's kind of disheartening to know that the absolute worst of humanity is what's expressed by them. I mean, it's tragic that so many people would be grasping for that much power, that they feel that powerless in of themselves because they've been tricked into believing that the only way that they can be powerful is to control other people instead of accepting and acting upon the sovereignty that they are heirs to. It's tragic.
Everyone can be king of himself. Why would you want any more power?
Well, exactly, but so many people don't even realize that they can be king of themselves.
Tragic. Stupid, really.
And that is, of course, why we're part of the Freeman, World Freeman Society, the Freeman on the Land revolution. Because you are king of yourself. You are your own sovereign. But with that sovereignty comes great responsibility.
Here, I think I just found it on YouTube. I think I found that speech.
Reforms of schools and police. Oh, that means we'll have police, big-footed, blue uniform thugs patrolling our schools now, does it?
It's been that way in my school experience since I was in high school. And that was the mid-90s.
It is the first time in the Queen's reign she has set out a coalition government's legislative programme. Well, how about the Queen's rule? She rules us with a rod of iron.
A rod hole. I'm back at iron. Rod hole of iron. An emu. Rod hole and emu of iron.
That would be painful. A lot of iron.
Yeah. Well, Rod Hull of iron as well. Rod Hull was quite tough. People were always surprised by how strong he was. You know who Rod Hull was? He was this like ventriloquist from New Zealand, and he had this emu that was basically one of his hands, you know, his whole arm. And so like they'd be talking away, sit next to them with this emu, and then suddenly he'd like attack them with the emu for no reason at all, just like psycho. And that was the whole joke. And they try to fight it off, but he's always been stronger than them.
Yeah, be trying to pull the Rod Hull would be trying to pull the emu off
Yeah.
As the other guy was trying to push it off.
Yeah, acting like it was like, it's like, bad emu, no. But every time anybody sat next to him, the emu was going to attack them at some point or other. And he was like, emu says he's sorry.
Alright, I got all 3 parts. I think this is it.
It's interesting name though, Rod Hole, sort of like a hull made of iron, rods or whatever, a hull made of rods, and then emu's short for emulation. Sort of like very modern word, but it also means like simulacron.
There's a rod, there's a staff.
Yeah,
When you're a pharaoh.
Yeah, that's it. And the emu be like the statue, the incarnation of Pharaoh. Because it's supposed to be like, Pharaoh incarnation is supposed to be the same Pharaoh that carries on throughout. The same spirit as Pharaoh, like passes on from father to son sort of thing.
Right. If they don't have one, they can just, put a DNA lab in the one, then they can regenerate an Obama Akhenaten anytime they want.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's no surviving descending family member for the pharaoh to pass on to, they can incarnate in a statue, apparently.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's possibly what Obama came from, is he came out of a statue. It's not, I don't know, transmutation or something. Not completely impossible. It's weird, but, But there was, like, they did believe that sort of stuff in Egyptian times. They knew that for certainty, that, like, Pharaoh could be watching you from a statue of him. Yeah, I think he did a few cartoons as well, like a statue of Bass and stuff. If it was in a cartoon, you see its eyes glow and stuff like that. Sort of thing they did, cheesy thing they did in, like, Doctor Who and stuff like that.
Those crazy Egyptians.
Yeah. Animism.
Oh, those pharaohs.
Yeah, animism, the possession of immaterial objects by spirits, I think. Like your clothes and stuff can have memories.
Hopefully not. I've got some boxer shorts that don't need to tell any tales.
Well, as long as you wash them, they should be alright.
Well, thank you. Phew.
Second-hand clothing, you got to be more worried about. You got to wash that before you wear it.
Might have some. Yeah, it might leave some residual memory behind.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm hoping that it doesn't.
Not skiddies. And suddenly, I remember the curry I had. Oh. And that hot walk I had in that ended up in a jog, and then I had to run back home.
Good grief, Charlie Brown.
Gaza Children's Camp destroyed.
No.
Okay.
So now let's see what the propagandists say about the Queen's speech.
Oh, couldn't be anything good.
Oh, yes, it does. This is the BBC we're talking about now, chaps. Yes, there were the usual abstract nouns. This lot talk of freedom, fairness and responsibility. But for once, now here comes the propaganda, but for once these words had meaning, did they?
Amazing use of English there.
Come again?
Choking a little bit there.
Supreme use of English there. I hardly understood that at all. Was it written by a 7-year-old?
I thought I was going to die there for a second. Go ahead. Try that again.
Hang on about this. This is classic BBC-ese. Not real English. It says fairness, responsibility, but for once these words had meaning. They don't have meaning now. They had it then, but they don't now. Right. Not least because they form the rhetorical glue that holds the Conservatives and Lib Dems together. At least.
Oh, wow. Thank God for that.
So freedom is a glue which restricts your movement.
Whoa, hold on. Freedom is a glue that restricts movement?
Oh, yeah. Well,
okay.
It's a
That makes
rhetorical
total sense.
glue, you see, isn't it? It's a rhetorical glue. If you glue something down, it ain't gonna move, is it?
Thank you for correcting my
does it
entire impression.
does it have freedom? This is the nonsense that the BBC push out.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They just define freedom as the opposite of freedom. Never mind.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's restriction or constriction, isn't it?
yeah.
Well, freedom is restriction, right?
Okay, Winston.
Freedom is slavery.
Right.
And
now
slavery
it all
is
makes
freedom.
sense. Thank
Yeah,
God.
So we now know that freedom is slavery and slavery is freedom. So we now know we're all free.
Phew. Good.
Cool. And I thought we were prisoners of our own imagination.
No. What? Are you a slave? Then you're free. You're free to be a slave. You're not free to be anything else, but you're free to be.
You are free to do as we tell you.
Yeah.
Well, it's like whether you want to do it of your own free accord or you do it because I've ordered you to do it, you're still going to do it.
Yeah, you are free to do whatever I tell you to do. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Oh,
Because,
thank God. I was worried there for a
Because,
second.
you know, at one time in the 90s, that was one of Margaret Thatcher, the then Prime Minister's famous cock-ups. When she was asked about this idea of freedom, you know, you are free to do whatever the government, you know, your freedoms are whatever the government says they are.
Yeah.
That's what she
Sounds
said.
like freedom to me.
Well, it's more the 80s, I think. I'm just checking now. I think she's like finished in 1990.
92. She was
Finished her
replaced.
reign.
She was replaced by Major.
Yeah. In
I'm
November
so glad that
1990,
government gives me my freedom.
she agreed to resign and succeeded as party leader and Prime Minister by John Major. In 1992, Thatcher left the House of Commons for the House of Lords as Baroness Thatcher of Kevston. Kesteven. Never even heard that place before. Kesteven.
Kesteven is Lincolnshire.
Okay.
That's the old Saxon name for it, Kesteven.
Cat Stevens? I thought he was the guy that did the peace train, right?
Yusuf Islam.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's him.
British Army decides to detonate rather than try to dismantle Taliban bombs. Oh, kaboom!
so weak anyway, you know.
Well, they keep going kaboom and seriously injuring the bomb disposal lads. Why the hell are we still in Afghanistan? Oh, well, you keep reminding me.
Because
You
of
forget
course
it.
we know that that's some place that people will not raise grand international political sanctions against us for bombing and attacking.
I thought it was the drugs.
Yeah, I mean that's why we're there, isn't
Well,
it?
we're
To
exporting.
to support Afghanistan's export trade.
The poppy
Okay.
fields.
Yeah, see, now that is legitimate. We are there to replace and repair the infrastructure and the industries of Afghanistan and promote their trade.
What's great about Afghanistan is before you bomb it and after you bomb it, it looks the same.
Well, it's like the incursions that we're doing in Jamaica, in Kingston, all of a sudden, to go after a Coke because he's this major supreme drug dealer. It's not to cull the drug trade. It's just to take over control of it.
We have the flag of the British East India Company. I mean, we are obviously the country of the British East India Company. We have to do whatever they want, and what they want is Coke and heroin and all
Right.
that.
Well, actually, if you look at your good old glory, Stars and Stripes, it is
Send them a flag.
it is defined quite precisely. So the United States flag is designed and defined quite precisely. However, the one that flies above your federal buildings and others is entirely different to the actual US flag. It's the United States of America Corporation flag. It looks very similar, but it's bigger. The stars are slightly turned round.
No.
And the stripes go the wrong way as to what it was originally designed to do.
No.
The stripes were originally vertical, not horizontal.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
No. You mean my government's lying to me?
No.
Would seem so. No.
That couldn't happen.
No. Well, they're not lying to you. They're telling you the truth. They are clearly displaying that flag, which is telling you this is a corporation. It ain't a nation. We are a big business. We are a big business, a corporation, a wholly owned subsidiary of the City of London.
They never say the American nation.
As long as they're being honest.
Yeah. Just sort of like withholding bits of the description of the.
So it's not lying. It's just blatant deception.
Yeah, I just accidentally forgetting to mention certain things, so we can't say it.
Yeah.
Weird or what?
In the interest of
fluoride toothpaste there, Maggot.
Yeah, pure fluoride.
Fluoride is in there?
I expect so. No, not in this one.
See if we can find any more.
Are you sure?
Well, sodium monofluorophosphate.
Bingo.
Oh, yeah.
MSG?
Yeah, MSG toothpaste.
Monosodium glutamate.
No, it's monofluorophosphate.
You know, if they put that in my toothpaste, I might.
Monofluoride. What? What was that? What's that exactly?
Monofluorophosphate, which is the quote.
Yum.
Monofluorate phosphate. Do you know what?
Monofluorophosphate.
You know what that is, don't you?
What?
Candy?
Warfarin. Rat poison.
Candy!
Sweet for rats.
I'm so hungry now. Gimme.
Don't swallow your toothpaste.
Heck no.
You
that's the great thing is that they put on there, do not let your children eat and swallow this toothpaste because there's fluoride in it, but yet they put fluoride in your city's water.
Just that and half a bottle of bleach.
I mean, I can remember living in a small town in Maine when I was growing up, and we didn't have city water. We all were on wells, and the elementary schools handed out fluoride tablets in school. But fluoride's a toxin. But take it. But it's a toxin. But take it.
Ratko Mladic declared legally dead. I wonder if we could do the same for Rat Zinger Pope. Declare him legally dead.
Well, he has eliminated all the rules there in the Catholic Church.
Well, just a Catholic.
Yeah, but soon it'll be the one world religion.
Hopefully not. We're working towards not.
Are you joking? It was my own uncle who betrayed the Greek Orthodox Church.
Well, yeah, but that's fine, but that doesn't mean that it has to end there.
We're going to fix that.
Fight it.
There's no peaceful way to do it. Even Charlie Giuliani on his show recently said it.
It's progressing to a point where...
No, it's not. It's delusional to think that they're the ones who use force on us, and they don't blink to do it. So They're the Force people.
Anyway, so you now know that sodium monofluorophosphate is the main ingredient in warfarin rat poison.
Yay! I'm putting some of the seasoning on my dinner.
So, can you? I mean, we should really have a go at Colgate Palmolive, have a class action lawsuit against them.
Good luck. I'll join it. I'm all about it.
That's why I have the Berkey water filter. I'm filtering the fluoride out.
That's why I'm on a well.
You live in a well?
He's a troll.
It's a deep subject. We'll get back to it.
But no, it's very important, and it's not a joke. I refused for a long time to buy one of those because Alex Jones was selling it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
But he's crazy.
there was no chance at all I was going to buy that. But I broke down and did it, and now I feel different.
He
Well,
does.
good.
He actually lost his show from in the well. I'm hiding you from deep in the enemy bunker in the well.
Yeah. But no, it's actually true. And the cat drinks all of his water now, which is really weird. Because the cat used to try to live off of tuna juice. You know, there's this juice in the packaging, the water. He thought he was going to live on that. He would not touch the water, no matter what. And now he drinks it like it's,
Hey,
happy about it. And
animals
so my little guy
know.
knows.
Animals know
My little guy
what is
he's
good,
the
what is
sweetest guy.
evil, what is right, what is wrong. They have an inherent sense, especially cats. If your cat's not going to drink the water, why would you?
Yeah. I didn't think of this until after I got it, but my grandmother used to hate the water. She lived right in the same area, and she would drive over to my parents' house who have that artesian spring water with milk jugs to go get the water. And I didn't think, I'd already got it. And then I realized, man, the guy hated it.
Yeah. Now you
So I
know.
don't know. It's terrible stuff. And this is good water.
Sure. But, that's exactly it. Your animals know when it's not good. They know when it's bad, when it's poison, when it's evil, when it's filled with vile stuff that's going to kill you. Even if it tastes fine to you, they know. They can smell it. They can taste it. But once again, that's why they keep trying to create all of these fake pseudo-robotic pets and hook kids on them.
Yeah.
So that as these kids grow up, they don't want real animals, they want these fake things.
Well, you're not supposed to have real children, so you shouldn't have real pets. That's the
Well,
idea.
right. Yeah, sure, exactly. Exactly. So,
Did you ever look up Fistgate?
I did not.
Yeah, check that out. Fistgate 1 and Fistgate 2. That's what they teach them in school now. Fisting.
How
All
about
right,
this?
you had
How
mentioned
about
that
this
before.
one? A teacher in Georgia has been suspended. Right? A teacher in the U.S. state of Georgia has been suspended after allowing students to dress up in Ku Klux Klan robes for a project. We've got to keep the little darlings happy and...
Well, as long as they're learning about masonry and how wonderful it is. That's the Masonic Order, the KKK. Started by Albert Pike, by the way.
Yes, yes.
He was in the B'nai B'rith. He is one of the founders of the B'nai B'rith and the Klan at the same time. And he wrote Morals and Dogma and constructed most of the 33 degrees.
No.
Yeah.
He's a
I can't
genius.
imagine that could happen.
All in conjunction with the Scottish Rite. Yeah.
Right. And he's the only Confederate general to he has his own statue there in Washington, D.C.
Did he become an American president of Freemasonry as well or something?
Well, he was the for this area.
Mm.
He was the main guy.
Uh-huh. He's the origination of that phrase you always hear on the truth movement. It's what's coming down the pike.
Yeah.
It's double entendre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What album pike has come up for you next sort of thing?
And are you a big Star Trek fan?
No. Oh yeah, he was the
Kirk
person.
took over from Christopher Albert Pike.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Kurt Cobain. I probably already said this one. Backwards is Captain Kirk. Cobain Kirk. Captain Kirk. Cobain Captain.
Scary.
Yeah. He's obviously Kurt Cobain from Nirvana, the suicided singer.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I believe that security guard, but I also don't believe that he killed himself. No.
I can't even remember the circumstances of his death.
He was in. I just saw a whole thing on it again. He was in the shed. Above it, there was a thing above the garage there, and he was doing heroin up there.
Mm-hmm.
Ably assisted by the FBI, no doubt.
Well, some secret group, the CIA or something.
Well, they would have assisted him directly. They'd have given him the drugs, and possibly in a briefcase, and they'd have taken them out and inject them somewhere else. It would be so kind to actually give it to him, like actually in his arm.
The worst
Lovingly insert the needle.
Was the John Lennon of my generation, and John Lennon was the John Lennon of my generation. So.
John Lennon was the John Lennon of your generation?
Yes, he
wow.
actually was.
How incredibly lucky for you.
Well, that idiot on TV, Kurt Loder. I mean, and people don't realize why Kurt Loder is the MTV guy. He was the last major head of Rolling Stone magazine, the last major editor. I guess they couldn't have given it to Ben Fong Torres or something. I wonder if instead of music underneath this episode, I'll put the Queen's speech backwards and stretch it out so it's the exact length.
Nice.
No, I don't think anyone will listen to that. I did get the Hannah Montana vocals from that song back. Extracted, like they come separated.
Oh.
It was an episode that it was like a work print or something, and it didn't have the final music, so it just had the vocals in it. So I extracted that.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize for any moment in the future that you have to listen to Hannah Montana.
You gotta watch this show. I mean, if you're gonna be brainwashed, this is the best way to be brainwashed.
Well, I've got another piece of brainwashing for you, chaps. Polar bears face tipping point due to climate change. Yes.
What? Hold on. Are you trying to tell me that the people on Mars, because of their overuse of cars, are affecting our planet?
Well, of course they are. But the tipping point, remember, this is a tipping point for the poor old polar bear. Because the population of polar bears is...
They thought they had it easy.
Exploding. It's absolutely doubling every couple of years. Because
Right, even though things are getting warmer.
Yeah, the population is exploding, so it's reached its tipping point, but it's not going down, it's exploding upwards. There's more polar bears on the planet than there's ever been.
Well, it looks like I know what I'm going to kill for my next 2 winters of meat in my household then.
Yeah, they taste like chicken.
And so that...
Everything tastes like chicken.
Sarah Wink Wink Perlin wanted to cull these animals because of the exploding population. Not because they were dying out, but because there was too many of them, and there was so many they were coming into the towns in Alaska.
She would know.
Right, because she was governor for her full term. Oh, yeah.
She can see Russia from her house.
Well, probably. Well, when the bear in sea, she's gonna round up the polar bears and usher them over to the Russian side.
Thank God for that.
It's only a few miles, you know, we'll round them up and herd them over there. Give them the problem.
Maybe all the bears are rushing through the skies wearing bear suits.
As long as she's got a plan, I guess it's okay. Thank God for that.
Fighting us in these bear suits, comrade. Yeah.
We're supposed to be ruled by a semi-attractive
They're saying, but
beauty queen.
in this
right?
piece,
Well,
in this-
yeah. Right.
in this propaganda piece, although the population is increasing, blah, 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 eventually mortality will dramatically increase when a certain threshold is passed. Until then, of course, the population of polar bears keeps going up and up and up and up.
Yeah. When the threshold is passed, then they'll just start doing polar bear hunting expeditions. That's going to be the breaking point. Introduce those.
So there we go.
Open
Another.
season hunting on polar bear.
In
I
every
bet it's just stimulated events anyway.
I think every season, instead of duck hunting, we should go politician hunting.
Ah, man, that sounds like a great idea. I back that 100%.
Give them several 100-yard start in the woods, but they've got to run
Round
barefoot.
up-
You know. Yeah,
Round
take
up
the
everyone in Washington.
take them out to the wilds and woolly yonder of the Blue Mountains and let them go. But you take the shoes and socks off first, so you know we don't want them to run too far. You know, this is.
No. The Blue Mountains are too easy. Let's take them to the Yukon in the dead of winter.
Oh yeah, and strip them naked and say, right, you're on your way.
All right, go! You're so powerful.
We'll
You're
turn
so
our
wonderful.
backs. We'll turn our backs and count to 100, and we promise them not to follow the footprints in the snow.
All right. You're such powerful men and women, and you have so much power that I'm sure that the power that you have will save you. I'll turn around and count to 1,000 before I start looking for you. Go. 1, 2, 3. Skip a few. 998. 999. 1,000.
Coming ready or not. Oh well, we can dream.
Arizona Wild is safe from that. In a total rip-off of Moonraker.
I'd be humane. I tossed him a knife before I shot him with my rifle. That's humane, right?
No, you just no. I mean, the best way, of course, would to be to hand grenade, release the handle, and say, "There you go, boy, catch!"
Go get it, politician. It's got $100 million bill attached to it. Boom.
Oh, you might have heard of them, might not. Have you heard of the metal band Slipknot?
Oh yeah, they're bassist.
Yeah, he's found dead. Yeah. So,
Yeah, a few miles from his hometown.
sometime earlier today. Yeah. They did a song called Maggot as well, and they called all their fan base Maggots as well.
Now, this is another one to blame on Al Qaeda. This is our famous BBC again.
Albert Qaeda, my dentist? That man's innocent.
9/11.
Wait a minute.
Go on,
You're
read
going
the
to blame
article.
Lindsay
I'm gonna read
Lohan's
it.
ban of alcohol on Al
Stop,
Qaeda?
Don. Go ahead and read the article.
9/11 link to rise in male fetal death rate, study says. The stress caused by the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center may have led, you know,
Which means must
have led, to an increase in miscarriages of male fetuses, US researchers say. A study in the BMC Public Health found 12% more male babies were lost in September 2001 after the 20th week of pregnancy than in a normal September. Wow.
Wait a minute. BMC.
The high pinnacle of
Is that
science today.
Is that the bowel movement consultancy?
No, yeah. It's the impact of the buildings collapsing. These like ground tremors.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can blame Osama bin Laden for this, can we then?
You killed our babies. No, that's
The reason that your wife didn't give birth to a male child. Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, it shook its stick off. The shaking of the buildings when it was sick fetus.
Tragedy.
Let's have a look, see what we can come up with again to give our humorous point of view. Because this is all pretense and humour, of course. We don't really mean it, listeners.
I do have a nice piece of information to share.
I really think, though,
Sorry?
I really do think that if all these media talking heads who say call us truth seekers conspiracy theorists, we should stand them at the edge, as I say, of the Empire State Building and say, well, here we go, I'm going to push you because gravity's only a theory. Bump. It's only a conspiracy theory. And Newton was the main conspirator. Sir Isaac. You think it's a theory? In theory, if I let this, hold this hand grenade. If I pull this pin out, the hand grenade will go boom. But that's just a theory. Go on then.
Sounds of New York. That's Evans. Evans, come on.
It's like rode in on a motorbike, like Meatloaf.
Yeah, you can't avoid that. It's Harlem.
Hello, Evan?
Hello, how are you today? How's everybody?
We're all good as far as I can tell. I'm just speaking for myself. My name's Don. Nice to talk to you.
Hey, John, how you doing today? That's good to hear that you're doing all right. Excellent. Got beautiful weather out here in New York City and a lot of noise, too. Don,
well,
sorry.
That's what happens. I grew up outside of Boston, so I didn't feel it.
So you're not choking to death on all this CO2 pollution from these gasoline-powered cars, then? It's not...
What kind of happens, I guess, over a period of time, my genes might have mutated into some unknown source of repellent, biological repellent, I think. Because if you wipe your windowsills every day, you'll see a very beautiful surprise on your little napkin there. Different colors of gray to black.
Jeans? I thought they were all
Only
Levi's.
in New York.
Only in New York. New Jersey's catching up with us, though. New Jersey's catching up. They're getting a little foggy over there, too. Gentlemen, last time, I think I spoke with you. I just wanted to, if you don't mind, just kind of give you a little tad bit of info on a little claim of right with fee schedule. We were discussing something before in the course of just, doing some things in the matter of the housing case and something like that. And of course, there's no legal advice going on here. Everybody's just talking an opinion. So, in the course of having that done, everything reached their destinations wonderfully. So, everyone who was looking to receive one of those has received one. And going to be looking to do the next course of action. We'll see what happens in 30 days with the fee schedule that was attached. So I just thought I'd put that out there. Yeah.
Well, fantastic.
Yes. And what I would mention is, because I know we're coming close to the end of the show, with whatever possibility to return, maybe tomorrow, maybe I'll elaborate a little further on it.
And we got an extra half hour. Because we started half an hour late.
So we're going to go on a little longer.
Are they in default then? With your notice of understanding and intent, they didn't reply to that, I take it?
No, they didn't reply.
So that now forms the basis of your contract with them?
Yes.
So now you can go ahead and just, suitably notarized with your claims of right, make sure you claim all your rights you want to, and all the fees that you feel are necessary for accepting their orders.
Absolutely. Ed actually, I had sent him a little copy of it, and by all means, feel free to share. But and by his just viewing, overlooking, his opinion on it was pretty good, and I felt pretty good about his opinion. So things went well in just the nature of formatting it, and the suggestion to include without prejudice in accordance to
without prejudice is one of your most powerful tools. The reason, if you use without prejudice, this is a term used to hide negotiations. They're not allowed to use it in the courts against you, because whatever you say and do is without prejudice to your particular circumstances, case, or anything. And lawyers use it all the time. When a lawyer, the prosecution lawyer and the defense lawyer are negotiating, all the letters flying between the two are without prejudice. So if a policeman comes up to you and says, anything you do say will be taken down and maybe used in evidence against you, or your Miranda rights, you say, what you tell him then is, and you make sure you record it, is that you tell him anything I do say is without prejudice as defined in the Law Society's Black's Law Dictionary, and may not be used in the courts. It's my negotiating position, and that's all you need. And you can say anything you like. You can chat to the policeman for 3 hours, and they can't use a single word of it in court.
Because it's without prejudice.
Because it's without prejudice.
I see.
But if you notice, when they go to when you go to court, lots of times you'll hear these cases and you'll see them. There's a guy charged with second-degree murder.
Whoa.
But and okay, so the defence and the prosecution lawyers negotiate, and do all those negotiations are without prejudice, and they come to an agreement. The defence with his client and the prosecution with the state come to an agreement that fine, he will plead guilty to a lesser charge of aggravated assault or manslaughter. Yeah?
I see.
And they make that agreement, but when you get to court, all the judge is going to say is there an agreement on the table? Right? And they'll just say yes, and they'll just state the last fact. My client agrees to plead to guilty to a charge of manslaughter. And the judge will turn to the prosecution and say, do you accept that? The prosecution will say yes. And that's all they're allowed to do. You cannot go through that to-in and fro-in of all the negotiations, all the letters, all the words that were said to come to that final conclusion. All they're allowed to hear is the final conclusion.
I see.
So when you're talking to a policeman, or you put this straight out from anything I say is without prejudice as defined in Black's Law Dictionary. Kaboom. Anything you say after that, then he can't use. Prevents it. If he does use it in a court, if he mentions it first, right, what you've been discussing, he does, it's immediate mistrial. You ask for a mistrial straight away. Boom. This was made, this statement was made without prejudice, Your Honour. It's a negotiating position. Mistrial. You cannot hear this trial now because the other, because you can go straight into there is no contest. Dismiss the case, man.
Wow. That's amazing. And then
but that's using. You see, you realise that's using their own law society systems against them. You're using the same system as they use, but you're using it to your benefit, not theirs.
I see. Which is well within our rights.
Absolutely, it's your right.
Completely. It has to be. Because the only reason that they can exist whatsoever is if they operate under how you employ them.
And the other thing, I mean, one of the things that a copper comes up to you, like Robert Menard said, license, registration, insurance. You go, apples, pears, bananas.
Excuse me, you're not making any sense.
Yeah, neither are you, officer. What would you like?
What would you like?
Do you have your license, registration, and insurance, please?
Yeah, but you've already made him laugh. If you do it the right way, you've already made the man inside that uniform smile to himself. If he's smiling,
actually laugh when they're tasering you.
Yeah.
Tasering you makes them laugh.
If he's smiling to himself,
Yeah.
if he's smiling to himself, even if it's on the inside, he's already on your side. He's already been turned from that policy enforcement officer to a human being having a giggle, And if you can keep that going for a few minutes, half the time, with making silly jokes, but actually within your rights, because that's the thing. Another thing you can say, I reserve. When the policeman talks to you, I reserve all my common law rights.
Wow.
Right, and that means they cannot infringe on your common law rights. They can't force you to make a statement. They can't force you to say anything. They can't force you to do any bloody thing.
Amazing.
Because that's
what evidence do you have right now that you're dealing with a human being that has any obligation to provide you with any of that information?
Yes, and not only that, if they try to intimidate or what have you, they are using duress, and you protest that duress. And if they give you a ticket, you accept the ticket, but when you sign it, and you write on the ticket under protest and duress, and then sign it.
I see. Well, I would add that what has been a little successful here in New York City, and I'll take any type of ticket except for the moving violation that has not been actually done in this fashion, but parking ticket, any type of parking ticket, any type of where you park, whether it's a hydrant or anything like that, the very time frame of that 3 days. A for B, accepting for value, return for same value, and sent back to that department that it issued. With that on there, going back, it'll dismiss.
Yeah, you'd actually be better wording it as accepted as value, because they think that piece of paper is a financial instrument which has value. You are accepting that financial instrument as being valuable.
I see.
Rather than accepting it for value, you accept it as being valuable, and then you put your information on with the red lines.
Right.
Accepted as value above the first red line diagonally, in the middle between the two red lines. exempt from levy, and then the bottom, underneath the second line, exemption ID, which is your social security number, whatever.
Right, the whole thing.
The number in red on the back of your birth certificate, it's the same thing.
Yes, same
And
thing.
that points to your the account of your birth bond, the birth bond account.
Now the birth bond account number is also, I think, routed by way of the red numbers on back of the social security card.
It is.
Oh,
It
Well,
is.
it is your SS, and it is your social security number. It's your bond certificate number.
Yeah, it's your bond certificate number. And then they can collect them funds from that bond and zero this account.
right.
Absolutely, 100%, because they couldn't have given you any of that money if you didn't create it in the first place.
Exactly. Now that's the interesting thing, because like what we were discussing the other day about the housing, that presentment that came in the fashion of an amount that they claim to be due. You have a contract, it's got a time period of expected development conversion to co-op within 5 years. That doesn't occur, and then they pass that time, they reach what their rules are, and then they come around with its audit time. No authorization to do that. You owe a certain amount of money. You accept for value and return that. So now you've already taken care of it. And here they are making believe that it hasn't been taken care of, trying to proceed. The bluff continues with certain information. Now this was passed, and at the present, everything has slowed down. But
Yeah, well, if you send the document to the people who raise the document,
Right.
if they return it and say, that's not right, you turn the document round, you put an attachment letter without prejudice. Right. Please draw from this bond account to this account. Right?
yes.
And don't send it to the issuing authority, send it to the US Treasury.
I see.
You send it to the US Treasury the second time, because they're holding the bond account.
I see. Excellent. Wow. Excellent.
And if they reject it again, you make because you've made your claim of right and all the rest of it, and right, then you just return it to the court for waiver, because they have refused to accept payment twice.
Ooh. Excellent. Run to the court.
And you get that waived because they've refused to accept payment twice.
Amazing.
And the court will waive the bill and zero the balance. Or they should do if they're operating properly.
And you can.
This is New York City.
They're operating properly.
Well said, Ed.
Okay, guys, I got to shoot off. I'll catch you again on the morrow.
All right.
Excellent.
All right, Caribbean Critic, we're grateful to have you with us.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then, lads. Yeah. Bye, listeners. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take it easy.
Okay, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Interesting. Really, really interesting. You see, in the course of remedy, what I'm finding is just in the small circles of people who may be exhibiting their rights as free men, they're caught in sort of the concept that maybe there'll be like a thank you, oh, we have this, have a nice day type of response, and they may be they're getting caught in the representment of same information, well, same amount or whatever the issue is, but different wording. And I try to explain to people that's one of the things that the costs of tickets will come to. You will cancel that, But what will happen is they'll formulate a letter this time, ask for that amount, but give you an offer in a reduced fashion. So people get caught up and think, oh, it didn't work. No, it works. It still works. It always works. It's just whatever, like we said, Ev said a second ago, it is New York City, and that's sort of, in other areas as well too. But interestingly enough, if you stay the course and you continue to do what's right in your remedy, you will get your remedy. And I tell you, like I said, I've been doing what I've been doing with this housing authority for a year, and where it was letters from like 3 different areas, like once a week you're getting hit, they come minimized over the months down to the only person who will contact on behalf of anybody will be the lawyers, and whoever will sign won't be the lawyers, it'll be a manager that from past was the last company that was trying to enforce their claim against their audit that says that I owe this and should have paid it and should pay it and pay it, otherwise get out. So
it's every dirty game.
Yeah. So stay the course. If anyone's listening,
but that's exactly what it is that you have to take the time and invest yourself in it. It's a commitment.
Yes.
You may not get absolute proof the first time. I've been fortunate and lucky enough that in the few times that I've had to deal with situations, it's worked out to my benefit, and I haven't had to do over and over and over and over and over again levels of petitioning and notices and everything else to gain satisfaction. But that's not to say that it isn't going to take time, it isn't going to take effort. You have to be willing to recognize that if they respond at all, they're doing so because they realize that they have to. They have an obligation to.
Right. Because
they know if they don't, they've already conceded to your point.
Right. And I want to add to that if the first part, if they know they need to respond, if they respond, they know they need to, in some cases, response will be way past the understood time frame of what is to respond, and act as if that's the course of how to respond. So if in the course of our
don't consent,
being listening, yes, just continue the course. That's my experience. Continue the course. If I had a time frame, they did not honor it, and I've experienced that. The notice of understanding intent, like the Caribbean critic was saying, he asked me about, they didn't respond to it, but then came back, it was like a month later, and then said, well, on behalf of the guy that went to person A, this is the law department, which they're just a bunch of people who work there. They have no authority, so their department has a representative, a deputy that says, Mr. So-and-so received your notice of understanding and intent. If you'd like, you could come back in and recontract and fill out an application and apply for another hearing. So that's your opportunity. Way past the 3 days, 30 days later, hey, here you go.
Right, so, it's a you may / must.
Yeah. And in the course of responding to that, which I immediately did, canceled that out and sent him notice of dishonor. Notice of dishonor in response to that notice of understanding and intent. Got as far as notice of dishonor, notice of fault, notice of default, all done. And then they stopped. They didn't do anything past that one letter. Now, I didn't get a chance to mention this to the Caribbean critic, but over the weekend, because last week we discussed this, over the weekend, I got a letter, a friendly, very, very friendly letter. Now, I want everyone listening to really understand, this is a place that is looking to evict, period. Okay? They want you out. That's what it is, all right? So now, from that position, we go to this position. So it's very brief. I'll read it to you. This is in response to your May 7th letter to Chairman Rea. Please see the attached letters which were sent to you on March 8th and in which Mr. Stephen Rappaport, Assistant General Counsel, addresses your issues. You may want to contact an attorney to assist you in this matter. Also enclosed for your convenience is a listing of Manhattan's legal aid information. These guys sent me that letter. One woman, this is the general counsel, this is the head person of that assistant person, sent me that letter and a copy of the other one they sent and a whole 2-page listing of legal aid societies. Well, now, I have never in my life had somebody who's trying to harm me try to help me at the same time.
That's not help. That's not help. That's an insult.
I know. It is.
Right?
It is. But it could appear for anyone naturally, anyone in this fashion, anyone in this situation similar, if anyone would send something like what I just described, know that what Ev just said is exactly what it is. Insult.
It means you're a child. It means you're too stupid to be dealt with.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So I was laughing. I took care of that too. And sent it right back. So that went in ahead of, at the same time. And
The sickest part is when they then claim, we were just trying to help you. Really?
yes, exactly. 10 years
You're crazy.
after, you were supposed to have helped me when I said you needed to sit down and go over the new agreement based on the contract part that you're not honoring anymore. Because, for where I'm at, we have a resident council, president, vice president. I'm the next guy in charge, vice president. So, it's just a resident council. Everybody in the building forms a little council because we're going to go co-op, so you need a board of some sort. So, we form that, and we hold meetings, and we invite them. Housing Authority has been coming for 10 years plus. And in the course of that 10 years, there were 3 things they were supposed to do in that contract, which was complete property restoration, resident training, and cooperative conversion. They didn't do any of those 3. They did a sum of resident training, but they didn't finish. And then they offered some more resident training, but they never fully notified everybody properly. So that never went through. So haphazardly, they did certain things on one part of 3, and the other 2 were left out. And now, 10 years later, it's time to get rid of people. Because like I said, the big meat and potatoes to Ev when I spoke to him about this was that they have leased in the course of ordinary business. In Black Law's dictionary, there's a definition. If you look up leasee and you follow down for the different types of titles of leasing, it has one that says leasee in the course of ordinary business. That falls under where if someone offers something for sale that actually belongs to somebody else. So they did this. They actually did that. They sold shares of the building before they even honored the contract and its performance to get to that 5th year or any year before that, should they have completed the full 3 requirements to complete co-op conversion. They sold shares ahead of schedule. And what it is, that information versus this is available on their own website. Anyone can go right in and see, based on block and lot address, that these shares were sold, and it even has names listed of the individuals to their UCC1 forms that they grabbed it, and security agreements with it. Wow. Okay, so you got John Doe over here who has it, and then you have the managing agent, the principal over here for the actual housing authority, who's trying to get rid of those tenants in those buildings for the reasons of the actual owners want everybody else. Amazing. Sounds like those guys might have been getting the funds, or all of the funds, at that 2nd year, which would have been 1997, because I signed contract and moved in 1995. So since 1997, there's been a third party, actually the third party, but there's a 2-party contract already, but they came on board, so I guess that makes them the third party. So now there's a third party ownership before the second party had rights to the ownership. Wow.
It's a nightmare. We're gonna make it though.
It's a nightmare, I think, that invoked only one real course of direction, and that was knowledge. Because I told them, because I've met with them before, and I says, you know what you're doing? You're encouraging me to want to know more and more every time I sit down with you guys, because you're not forthcoming with what you have to do.
Oh, no. That's not what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to crush your entire spirit. Damn it. They screwed up.
Yes. And you know, when you say that, it makes sense because everyone would get silent. And then the looks, they start looking at
Of course. Oh, I can't stand up and say anything. If I do, they might come after me.
You know,
Don't say anything. They might come after you. If they come after you, they might find out that I talked to you. Then they'll come after me. Shut.
You know, clauses, information, all the printed information, all the contract laws of any agreement that anyone would have are the laws. I mean, you know, a lot of people may spend, if any, time reviewing some of the court shows on TV and stuff, but if you move away from maybe some of the divorce ones and see some of the litigations for anyone that involve a civil, you might pick up a couple of tips. And one of the things I've seen over the course of years, I don't see much anymore, but when they speak about a contract, if there was one, they are sticking to that verbiage, period. And the most horrific, not for us, but for them, wording that comes up in the contract. Like I told Ev, there's a clause there on the second page, and it clearly states a limit to how many times a tenant would review as far as submitting your information, your income, and we went over that too, which was interesting enough. I found out that I didn't have any income. What I thought was income is actually earnings. And those things are from my labor. They're privately entitled to me, and I don't have to submit those to you.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Because, you know, Evan lives off his investments on Wall Street.
Right. I'm so glad for you. That must be nice.
Yeah, that income you've got.
Right. What, did you invest with Madoff? You might want to take another look at your portfolio there.
Yeah.
None of us are in that class.
So, what an eye-opener that was. What an eye-opener. But the clause states, because you complete a process by submitting this information, and that process is called successive lease renewals. Now, this occurs only to continually formulate your eligibility to participate in what is called the multi-home ownership program, which is what I live in. And under the name Frederick Lee Samuels III, multi-home ownership program, they have a lease agreement and a purchase agreement. Well, the lease agreement says that and I'll quote it because that's how many times I've said it, in no event shall such successive lease renewals exceed a total of 5 years. Now, I've shown this at the 5th year, and I've done it 7th year, 8th year, any year you want, because it's 10 years past that 5th year anyway. And no one, remarkably, no one, and it's been at least 7 different people, every single one of them, the room becomes pin drop silent. No one, but look at this. Do you see what I'm pointing at? Still silent. Wait, take a look. Read it to me. Won't read it. We'll look at it, but won't read it. Won't say anything. Okay, so then they say, okay, so I see where we're at here. Okay, but that's the end. Yeah. But that's how every situation, when brought to them, the very contract that they construed to sign with the tenant, and so one of them is put to their face, they choose not to acknowledge what has been written and still want to continue the course of shaking people down from money. And mind you, the shaking people down thing, we're not talking about young people here. We're talking about people 50, 55, 60, 65, and as high as even 70. Okay, so, hey, I'm in my 40s. I don't consider myself that young, but I'm not old. But then when you start looking at people 65, 70, getting shaken down, and they're retired. I mean, as, member of the council here, I'm like, I got to do something. So some information has helped a lot of the tenants who are not really in any situation, just kind of corrected some things. And there were some casualties. We lost 2, and in the course of leaving, rather. then was actually evicted without being served a warrant of eviction. One of the many amazing things.
Oh, well, the automatic consent to the previous document by refusing to dissent from it indicated that you had automatically signed your own eviction notice on the moment of refusal of consent. Much like when they say, would the accused please step forward, and you stand up and state your name, and, well, now you're the accused.
You're pointing yourself as the accused.
Right. So, refusal to dissent was accusation of personal consent, even if you didn't assent to the document. I'm sorry, that's way too many cents, and I'll back off. Phew. However, we have come down towards the end of our 3 hours today. We're grateful to have you with us, Evan. It's nice to talk to you. We look forward to talking to you more in full tomorrow, as I hear you're going to be with us for more time. We had with us today the Caribbean Critic.
He's great.
Pardon?
He's great.
He's fantastic. He's awesome.
I know.
He's just brilliant, and we're so grateful to have him as one of our guests. Going to be back with us tomorrow. Of course, we've had Maggot with us.
Goodbye. Hello. Usual formalities.
Representing all things British all by himself, and we're grateful for that.
Yeah, I am the British Empire. I am the whole of the British Empire.
and anything said with a British accent must automatically be European, so he's the European consultant for the show.
How cosmopolitan we are on this program.
Yeah, Caribbean Critic talks with an English accent, but he's in Barbados. But yeah, I'm the only living English-speaking person here.
There you go. The president of the America's chapter of the World Freeman Society of Stratios.
God, what did I do wrong?
Well,
how did I get this position?
You actually opened your mouth and decided to be part of everything.
Something is really wrong here. Alright. Our podcast is at tinyurl.com, WFS Podcast. And, of course, you can reach the wonderful Maggot at tinyurl.com, my Maggot. Which is great.
Yeah.
Right? You can always reach Estratios at Keep Truth Free on Skype. You can reach me at Clark Lake Perry's on Skype. I am Don of the Family Perry. Freeman on the Land. I'm glad to have had you all with us today. We look forward to having you with us tomorrow. I'm going to shut up now and let anyone else. Yep, see, there you go.
WorldFreemanSociety.org. Forgot about that.
Ah, yes. Always check us out. Go to WorldFreemanSociety.org. Check out the blogs. Check out the America's Chapter webpage, or whatever webpage that's closest to where you're listening to us. Learn what you can do, how you can become involved. We always want to hear from you. I guess that's about it.
Yep, we've had Evan, he's my flagship case. My favorite one. A lot of these got wrapped up, quickly. Evan, we're still fighting. It's New York City, it's tough to fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're gonna win, though.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Always gonna win.
Alright, I'll be a responsible party. I'll take us off the air.
Alright, God bless.
Hit the button.
God bless.
Maggot.